Part 27. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 261. Without the interference of the ghost fog, Guyao and his party could easily find the right direction. After drifting at sea for a while, they finally saw the land. Not only did Guyao and Qi Changjai cover their faces this time, but even Lu Huajing and Yang Muking changed their faces. They dispersed to inquire about news, and then met in a restaurant. Lu Huajing and Yang Muking appeared with disbelief on their faces. As soon as they entered the private room, they activated the formation so that outsiders could not hear the conversation inside. Something happened. Lu Huajing's voice was very low. Monsters that are neither human nor beasts appeared in many places, many towns and villages suffered, and some places were slaughtered overnight. They were so bold, dare to act so recklessly, those people are really crazy. As soon as he heard the news, Lu Huajing knew that those guys had brought the monsters that were originally locked on the island onto the mainland. Those monsters had no clear mind at all, only bloodthirsty instincts, so one could imagine what would happen. Do the lunatics behind them want to disrupt the entire Qinhao continent? How does this benefit them? Qi Changjai and Guyao were equally astonished. They didn't expect the other party to choose such a method. They were really crazy. They wanted to drag the entire continent into the muddy waters. Guyao asked, "Where's your ancestor?" Lu Huajing was too shocked. As soon as he heard the news, he hurried over to tell Qi Changjai and the others. At this time, he was also worried. "I haven't had time to contact me, so I'll contact my ancestor. I'm worried about him." Lu Huajing opened his mouth and couldn't talk anymore. He was worried that the ancestor would be targeted by Chang Xianmen. He quickly turned around and used a special contact device to communicate to the ancestor. Only by opening the mouth of the ancestors can the losses of the ancestors and the Lu family be minimized, and the ancestors must be alert to the father and son of the Huo family. After a while, Lu Huajing came back, wiped his face and said, "I don't know if the sect is deliberately targeting the ancestors. The ancestors were sent by the sect to clean up the monsters they created. The ancestors said they would be careful. But I'm still worried." Qi Changjai and Guyao can't say that they didn't specifically target them, because they and sect master Huo knew what the so-called monsters were about, and they sent Lu's ancestors out to clean up the monsters. Maybe it was the sect master who wiped the monsters for his son. As for the otherwise, no matter how high the authority of the head, Lu Huajing's incident will cause instability in the sect. Qi Changyek tapped on the table with his fingers and asked, "Where is the old ancestor Lu now? I will try to get someone to help one or two." "The old ancestor Lu is a famous Yuan Yang monk for a long time, and we will not help much even if we rush there. Benefit, maybe you will fall into a trap instead." Whether Lu Huajing is dead or not, you can see by looking at the soul card left in the section. Obviously Lu Huajing is not dead. Maybe Lu Patriarch was sent out to lure Lu Huajing to go. Lu Huajing Yuxi was indeed much more important than the fact that they rushed there in person. He immediately told the location where the ancestor said, but the ancestor did not agree with him rushing over, but asked him to find a place to hide and cultivate well. It's not too late to come out after he has successfully cultivated, and the ancestor has no doubts about what he said. "Let's go and find a bigger city." Qi Changjai and Guyao led people away quickly, and when they returned to the land, it was no longer a smear. "Find shops that can contact Changmeng and Yunyu Commercial Bank." At this time, the two of them were very lucky that the business alliance appeared in time, otherwise it would not be so easy to contact Zhang Qianfeng in Beihai City and the Yunyu Commercial Bank. Every corner, in any city, can find shops that have joined the business alliance. Qi Changjai also believed that the information in his hands would definitely convince Zhang Qinzi and the people in the business alliance to take action. Before that, who would have thought that those monsters were created by the monks themselves, that they were walking on the road of the city? and can also hear all kinds of comments from passers-by about monsters. Behi City. The appearance of monsters on the Kinhao continent has made the Business Alliance busy. Although the source cannot be found, even the Business Alliance cannot be immune to these things when they appear on the mainland, so they mobilized various resources to support the monsters. Monk. City Lord Lu and Zhang Qinzi occasionally think of Guyao and Qi Changjai. They don't know where they are now, but there is a feeling that they can live well no matter where they are. Maybe they are hiding now. I'm fighting monsters somewhere because of my identity. Elder Zhang, someone pointed to contact with Elder Zhang, and the other party holds the multiplier given by Elder Zhang. Zhang Qinzi was surprised, but he didn't show it too much, and said calmly, "Okay, I'll go now. It must be a question of where to mobilize supplies. Those big sects want to take the opportunity to scrape a few from our business alliance. Layers of oil and water are coming." The people who heard it said that the development of the business alliance made those big sects jealous, but there was no chance to intervene. Now, because of the appearance of monsters, the two sides have room for negotiation, but the idea of the business alliance was marked. When Zhang Qianfeng came back, his whole body was full of coldness, and City Lord Lu couldn't help but ask, "What happened? Who else is embarrassing the business alliance?" "Madam," Zhang Qinzi held City Lord Liu's hand tightly. He could hardly hear what his ears could hear. However, reason told him that Qi Changjai had no need to lie about this matter, not to mention that he had the strongest witness. That is Lu Huajing, a disciple of Chang Xianmen. If I say that the monsters that are appearing outside are actually created by some people behind the big sects, will you double it, madam? City Lord Lu immediately realized that Zhang Qinzi was not testing her, but that he could not believe and accept the fact, and she couldn't help chilling, but she quickly calmed down. "Qianfeng, I remember you mentioned it. One thing, that is, you said when you were compiling various news about the business alliance, that there are often unidentified scattered cultivators on the mainland, and it must be a considerable number accumulated over the years." Not bad. Zhang Qianfeng is also calmer. Now that the problem has arisen, it is time to find a way to solve it. Avoiding is the best way. Could it be that these loose cultivators were all taken away by them? Damn. These maddened people, guys, aren't they afraid of divine condemnation? City Lord Lu sneered, "Isn't it rare for evil demons to crook the way since ancient times? When did you see them afraid of divine condemnation?" Zhang Qianfeng nodded, "I still need to make some arrangements. Daioqi asked me to save a person, that is, Daoist Lu from Changxianmen. I also need to contact the patriarch of the Silver Wolf clan, but it is strange that Daioqi asked me to convey the words. He said that he has what the Silver Patriarch needs most. Madam, what do you mean by that?" City Lord Liu's eyes flickered, but there was no result for a long time. Zhang Qianfeng still hurriedly contacted the Silver Wolf clan and arranged for people to act. The business alliance was also involved in the operation of encircling and suppressing monsters, so it would not seem strange to assign people to the position of fellow Daoist Lu. And it can also be used to prove that what Qi Changjai said is true or false. "You said Qi Xiao said they have what I want most in their hands." The patriarch of the Silver Wolf clan raised his brows in surprise, looked at Zhang Qianfeng from the other end of the communication array and said. Zhang Qianfeng shrugged, "Yes, that's what Daioqi told me. They just got out of danger and came out of the sea of ghosts." Patriarch Yin was pacing back and forth in front of the communication array, his brows were slightly wrinkled, but Zhang Qianfeng did not dare to urge. Although he was also a cultivator of Yuan Ying, he and Patriarch Yin belonged to two classes, and Patriarch Yin could easily obliterate them. Could it be? Yin Patriarch whispered softly. Zhang Qianfeng couldn't hear what the other side was saying at all. At this time Yin Patriarch had turned around, his eyes seemed to be shining, and said, "Where are they? What do they need to do? I will send the clan to go." After a few words in the cloud, he actually asked the Patriarch Yin to send people to help. Zhang Qianfeng became more and more interested in the implied meaning. When the location of the ancestor of the Lu family was about to be reported, the Patriarch Yin stopped the communication when he got the address. As soon as he gave an order, someone set off from the Silver Wolf clan, and the action was faster than Zhang Qianfeng's. Zhang Qianfeng also returned to City Lord Lu after the arrangement, and talked about the performance of the Yin Patriarch. City Lord Lu pondered for a while, and said, "I may be able to guess a little bit, what can make Patriarch Yin so excited? It must be another major event besides his young son. Think about us nascent soul monks, in Qinhao continent. It has reached the top, what about after nascent soul? Where should we nascent soul cultivators go? As far as I know, the Yin Patriarch is the strongest group in the nascent soul. Do you think he is not in a hurry? I even doubt, the appearance of this monster may also have something to do with it." "So it is, so it is." This time it was Zhang Qianfeng's turn to whisper, so he said, "Qi Changjai has great potential, but he has not yet condensed the baby, so it is not surprising how his words can get such attention from the Yin Patriarch. He didn't expect it to be so long. Compared with other nascent soul cultivators, he is a newcomer and has a long lifespan. How can he think so long? He can wait, some people can't." After contacting Zhang Qianfeng, Qi Changjai also made arrangements for his own people, and the people who followed them obeyed him and Guyao, but it was a pity that their physical condition was relatively poor, and their strength was only at the foundation of the foundation. There are really not many things to help. After all, Qinhao continent is just a transfer station for them, and they do not want to establish any power here. So after thinking about it, Qi Changjai and Guyao settled them in a market town, leaving some resources for them to settle here temporarily. After the other side's affairs were completed, the two of them came back and also left Li Chengui to take care of them. Immediately afterwards, they and Lu Huajing Muking rushed to the vicinity of the Lu family ancestors' location, waiting for further news. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 262. Along the way, Guyao and the others found that the development of things exceeded their expectations, and if they let the situation develop, they would lose control. There are more than one test sites organized behind the scenes. Different people have different ideas and lengths, and the things they make are also different. They pass through a city on the way, and the place is completely messed up. Monsters appearing from nowhere, there is some kind of toxin in his body. At first, the monks who hunted monsters were injured. After returning to the city, they didn't care much after using the antidote. Unexpectedly, after a few days, those monks who had been injured by monsters suddenly went crazy. Hugged the companion beside him and sighed. After being restrained, it was discovered that these monks completely lost their sanity and became like living dead, and this situation is still spreading. This toxin will be spread through gnawing, and the entire city will fall into panic in a blink of an eye. Therefore, when Guyao and the others passed through here, the city lord of the city issued a request for help to all parties, and ordered the city gate to be closed at the same time. At the same time, they summoned medical cultivators and alchemists to try to save these cultivators. Fortunately, the city lord responded quickly and resolutely, so the situation was under control for the time being. However, if the monsters outside were not eliminated, they would fall into new crises at any time. It's not too far from Lu's ancestors' place, so after a bit of discussion, he subdued a monster, then entered the city and joined the team to study toxins. Guyao and Qi Changjai still used Lu Hua and Lu Feng. The identity of the two inconspicuous loose cultivators back then, who would bother to remember them? Guyao really wanted to study this toxin so that he could make a related antidote. Besides, he was not alone, and there was Su Chen behind him to study together. Seeing that he was but still tearing and roaring, his appearance changed a bit. The injured person, Gu Yao frowned. Sometimes human beings are constantly dying, the monsters and toxins they create can really be completely controlled, won't they lose control and even backfire on themselves one day? Who gave mankind so much confidence? Sometimes Gu Yao really wants to let the cultivator who made these things taste it for himself. No, it is best to let them taste the feelings of all the test subjects one by one, and take turns over and over again. Alchemist Lu, the city lord's mansion has sent someone to urge us to find a way to remove the toxin as soon as possible, but how can this matter be handled so easily? The alchemist who was with Gu Yao complained to him, all his hair pulled out. It's better, but the toxin is too troublesome, it will not only assimilate the spiritual power in the body, but also act on the soul. Qi Changjai, that is, Lu Feng, became Gu Yao's helper and helped him by his side. As for Lu Huajing and Ying Muking, they joined the city's team and listened to the dispatch of the city lord's mansion to protect the city, and they rarely looked back. There are people out there saying that I don't know which poison alchemist took refuge in the evil way, and specially brought them out to deal with our righteous monks. Those should be slashed with 1,000 swords, and then their souls will be burned for 10 days and 10 nights. Poison alchemist? Evil devil, Gu Yao had just heard the statement. Yes, Donji Lu, you don't know yet, there are many evil demons and crooked ways outside, and I didn't know where they were hiding, and now they came out and took the opportunity to expand their territory to recruit disciples, and the evil cultivator actually controlled some monsters. However, the monsters were controlled to invade the camp of the monks of the right way, and some places were found too late, and they had already fallen into their hands. Gu Yao was shocked when he heard it, and exchanged glances with Qi Changjai. He didn't know that these evil demons were involved in the crooked way and the behind the scenes, or they took advantage of the opportunity to run out and take advantage of the fire. I'm afraid there are two possibilities. Combined, it will collapse at any time because of interests. There's one more thing, many people are talking about the Yao alchemist who was in the limelight before. Some people want to ask Yao alchemist to come out, maybe he can come up with a better detoxification pill, and some people say that Yao alchemist is probably lurking in the poison alchemist of his previous behavior was just to gain fame, otherwise why haven't they come out yet? Who knows where he got those top-grade pills from? Gu Yao was at a loss for what to do, and this alchemist, whose level of alchemy is average, but his ability to gossip is particularly strong, Gu Yao deeply felt that he made the wrong choice and should do a special collection of information. The business of selling news is just right, and all the energy is devoted to inquiring about all kinds of gossip. The cultivator left after satisfying some gossip. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai looked at each other, not knowing what to say for a while, but actually put the name of the poison alchemist on him. Lu Huajing and Ying Muking hurried back from the outside, with faint anger and depression on their faces. Gu Yao suddenly thought of what the alchemist said just now, and asked if you heard the rumor that Yao alchemist is actually a poison alchemist. You heard it too? It must have been released by Chang Xianmen, just want to hate your name, maybe take the opportunity to force you out, Lu Huajing said angrily, and at the same time had a deep sense of powerlessness. It is easy to pour sewage, but it is difficult to wash it. Gu Yao wasn't very angry, because it was impossible for him and Qi Changjai to stay in Qinhao continent for too long. Even if he could find a hidden place and concentrate on seclusion and cultivation, the outside world could have much influence on him, but then thinking of Tianlin continent, the monks from Tianlin continent will definitely come over in the future. His reputation is not good, and it will still have some influence. Thinking of Tianlin continent, he smiled, don't worry, Chang Xianmen dare not stand up and admit that they poured dirty water, because they know my origin. You say that I am a cultivator who has only been in Qinhao continent for a few years. After making such a big battle, these things can't be made in a short period of time. Those people who do it will always leave clues. For example, since when did a large number of loose cultivators disappear? At that time I am sure not yet born. Chi couldn't help raising the corners of his mouth, reaching out and rubbing the top of Gu Yao's hair. This kind of rumor really doesn't do much harm. Lu Huajing and Ying Muking were also taken aback. Huh? It seems to make sense, so why are they so angry and anxious? All the parties involved looked unconcerned. Under the influence of Gu Yao, Lu Huajing and Ying Muking relaxed and continued to do what they could. Gu Yao also continued to study these toxins, and a tube of blood was drawn that was black and black. This is a terrible thing that can poison Jindan cultivators. Long Pine Valley. Lu Kaiding Lu Patriarch was surrounded by numerous siege, and the disciples he brought also disappeared, and he was the only one who was struggling to the death like a trapped beast. Old Ancestor Lu is a Mityuening monk, and his strength is not weak, so his enemies have also paid a small price. He wiped the blood from his mouth and sneered at the monks and the hideous monsters around him. Huo the sect master really took great pains to deal with me. Did he really think that I would die today, so he sent you all? Two of these people are his classmates. They don't seem to be involved in the affairs of the sect on weekdays. However, it can be seen at the critical moment. They are dogs surnamed Huo, and they are released by the surnamed Huo when needed. Come out. One of them grinned and said, Lu, it's my fault that you refused to join the sect master for so many years. Now we are also kind, sending you and your descendants to the underworld to reunite with you. If there is a next life, remember not to be with the sect master again. The door and the young master did the right thing. Ancestor Lu laughed. He didn't expect someone to confuse black and white like this. Young master? That's your young master, not Lu's. It's your business if you want to be a lackey. Lu only follows his own heart. Do it, don't be wordy. When the surnamed Lu dies, the sect will reward him well and make a contribution to the eradication of monsters. One person waved his hand viciously. It is not ironic to say this, holding the banner of eliminating monsters, but it is also the monster who joined forces with them to attack Lu ancestors. When Lu ancestors wanted to kill the fish and break the net, a voice suddenly came from the air, the world is getting worse. I didn't expect that the righteous people would collude with the monsters. Who is right and who is evil? Haha. The monks who joined forces to attack the ancestor Lu suddenly dripped with cold sweat. He didn't expect that there were monks hiding in the air, and suddenly shouted sharply, Who? Who hides his head and hides in the dark? A cold snort sounded in the air, followed by a huge downward pressure, forcing several monks and monsters to vomit blood. This was clearly the coercion of the late nascent soul, and at the same time, the figures hidden in the air were revealed. A nascent soul cultivator, headed by a silver-haired demon cultivator, the elder of the Silver Wolf clan. The Yuanying cultivator who took the lead in attacking Lazulu immediately changed his tune and said, Okay, it turns out that you, the surnamed Lu, have colluded with the demon cultivator, and it will be detrimental to the sect. While shouting, he ordered the controlled monsters to intercept the monks. He turned around and was about to flee, but when he turned around, he found out that they had set up a formation here to trap old ancestor Lu, and the other party had set up another formation outside the formation. Law, trapped him here too. This person urgently called a monster, and the monster's body exploded with a bang when it swelled and shrank, and the blocking formation collapsed immediately. Come over, the nascent soul cultivator tumbled back with a bang. The crisis was resolved in a blink of an eye, and Lu Kaiding was still a little too slow to react. He knew the nascent soul cultivators who came here, and he had never seen or heard their names. He didn't know how these people came together and Yu Hao rescued him. Many thanks to a few fellow deists for helping each other. I don't know if you. Haha. The patriarch of the Silver Wolf clan laughed loudly. Don't worry, fellow deist Lu, we were all entrusted to come here, and we witnessed a good show because of this. It seems that what the other party said is true. These so-called the monster actually came from the right way, and it has attracted the evil spirits to become more and more rampant. I wonder what your plan is, fellow deist Lu. Why don't we find a place to sit down first? Lu Kaiting felt extremely complicated. Okay. After arriving at the place where he stayed, Lu Kaiting was still a little dazed. He vaguely knew about some dark things in the sect, but he never participated in it, including the battles between several factions in the sect, and he always remained neutral. He thought it was possible. Keeping quiet all the time, Lu Huajing is also a younger generation he is optimistic about. The possibility of congealing infants in the future is very high, so the Lu family can occupy a seat in Changxianmen. Huo Ming is also clear about Huajing, but he thinks that he will never get to the point where the fish will die and the net will be broken. The face of his ancestor will always be watched. Huo Ming can't kill him, but he never thought that Huo Ming would dare to be so arrogant. Wujishan, if someone hadn't helped him, Lu Huajing would have become one of the monsters that the monks now call him. What he didn't expect was that the head would want to get rid of him. Huajing heard that someone would come to help him, but he was also dubious. In this level of battle, Jindan Cultivator could not interfere at all, so where did Huajing go to Yuanying Cultivator? You have to be no weaker than him, otherwise it won't play a big role at all. But it turned out that the nascent soul cultivator really came, and there were more than one, especially the late nascent soul cultivator. Even if he saw it in normal times, he had to be respectful. It was a small difference in rank, but the strength was not small. What's more, the opponent is still a demon cultivator of the Silver Wolf clan, and his strength is even stronger. What do you want to do, fellow deist Lu? Ancestor Lu sneered, since the surnamed Huo wants me to die, then I'll just die as he wishes, so it's cheaper for me to hide in the dark, but there are many disciples in my Changxianmen who are innocent. Protect these disciples. Naturally, Qinhao continent cannot do without many monks. Lu Kaiting immediately reached an agreement with the other party, and it didn't take long for the monk guarding the soul card of Changxianmen to stumble out, "No, old ancestor Lu's soul card is broken." What? Many people couldn't believe it. They ran to the place where the soul card was placed to check. Sure enough, the soul card belonging to Lu Kaiting was broken, which meant that its owner had died. An inconspicuous monk slipped out quietly. Although he didn't understand Lu's intentions, he still followed Lu's intentions. All he did was mix into the place where the soul card was placed, and use external force to destroy the soul card. The news of Lu's death spread in Changxianmen, which caused a lot of sighs, and some disciples noticed that Lu Huajing had not heard any news since he went out to practice, and now even Lu's death could not be communicated to him. It has attracted a lot of discussion. Lu Huajing also encountered an accident during the training, which made it impossible to come back. Lu Huajing's soul card is still good, so people are still alive, but they may also be trapped somewhere. This dissatisfaction naturally also spread to the city where Guyao and the others were located. When Lu Lizu decided to escape, he also informed Lu Huajing about it, so he was still very calm, but he was sincerely grateful to Guyao and Qi Changjai, not the two of them. With the help of people, the ancestors may really die unexpectedly. A cultivator walked into the courtyard where Guyao was, and was shocked when the people inside found out. Silver Patriarch. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 263. Guyao and Qi Changjai didn't ask the Patriarch Yin how to find this place. After asking him to take a seat and serving spirit tea, the Patriarch Yin took a sip and said, "Don't worry, the ancestor Lu of Changxianmen is safe." The Silver Patriarch shook his head and sighed as he said, "Sooner or later you will have to kill yourself, it's not a long-term vision." Guyao's heart was amused when he saw the appearance of the clan leader Yin, but the Patriarch Yin was willing to rescue Lu ancestors. Both Guyao and Qi Changjai were very grateful, and Qi Changjai asked, The aura that the Patriarchian has seen before. Weird monk, is it similar to the aura of monsters outside now? The Silver Patriarch nodded. Yes, they are the same group he shot. For this reason, I didn't expect you to bump into each other. How did you two meet? He was also curious. Guyao and Qi Changjai explained how they acted as loose cultivators, how they entered Changxianmen as a handyman, and then they were abducted to an island. There is nothing to hide about these things. It was very clear why he had come in person, yet he listened patiently to these trivial matters to him. After we destroyed the teleportation formation and left the island, we plunged into the sea of ghosts and fog. Like other monks, we lost our way in the sea of ghosts and fog, so we went to the sea for a walk and accidentally found a monk on the bottom of the sea. The Yufu, when I wanted to refine the Yufu, I found that the original owner was not completely dead. I wanted to take the opportunity to seize the house. Fortunately, after a long time, the power of the remnant soul was not enough. I fought back and just received it. A memory of that remnant. I learned something from these memories. Patriarchian's eyebrows twitched. He listened patiently to the trivial matters in front of him, and now he vaguely understands why Qi Changjai wasted time talking about these things. Could it be that what you want to say has something to do with the remnant soul who wants to take the house? That's right, this remnant soul came from another continent before he died, and that continent has a spiritual monk. Guyao and Qi Changjai felt that Patriarchian's breath had missed a beat when they said this, but this is a monk named Ken Yu. In order to avoid the enemy, he came to Qinhao continent, and in order to prevent the enemy from chasing and killing him, he destroyed the passage. Sure enough, Patriarchian exerted force, and the cup in his hand was crushed into powder. Damn old thief. For his own sake, he ruined the hope of a mainland monk. The talent of Patriarchian is very good. He is restricted by the heaven and earth on Qinhao continent, and he cannot suddenly become of transformation. Crooked way. Where is the passage? Can fellow deist Qi repair it? Qi Changjai told Patriarchian the location and affirmed, there is a way to repair the remnant soul in the memory. He was prepared long ago. If he wants to return to Wanluo continent where he is one day, he just needs to repair the passage. The required materials are very rare, and Xiaoao and I cannot do it. The Silver Patriarch waved his hand and said, where do you need these materials? Every force in our Qinhao continent should do their part. You give me the list, and I'll find a way to get it together. Qi Changjai handed over the jade slips that he had prepared without saying a word. He never thought that he and Guyao would go and do it well. Moreover, the most powerful nascent soul cultivators had left a group, and they would have to deal with Jianhao. The mainland and the monks from the Tianlin mainland who may come here are more favorable, and the development space will increase. Qi Changjai added, actually, the construction of this kind of channel does not necessarily need to be in the original place, as long as it is convenient to find a place with weak spatial nodes, because the memory of the remnant soul retains the spatial positioning of Wanluo continent. Otherwise I don't dare to talk like this, but after this kind of channel is built, cultivators still have to take a lot of risks to enter it, so at least the strength of nascent soul is needed. It is better to enter it in the middle stage of nascent soul. Worry about these issues. So it is. Patriarchian actually thought about a lot of methods, such as finding ancient teleportation formations, because some teleportation formations on Qinhao continent are connected to lower level cultivation continents. He thought that the places leading to higher levels would also stay there. There is a teleportation array, but after searching for a lot of places, there is no gain. It turns out that there is no such teleportation array, but a channel needs to be built. After thinking about it, the Silver Patriarch looked sharply at Qi Changjai again. You handed such an important matter to me so easily. I thought you would trust the human monks more. Qi Changjai smiled. One is that the Silver Patriarch is powerful, and the other is that the Silver Patriarch is on the opposite side of that group of forces. 3. Who made me and Guyao know the Silver Patriarch? those big sects outside, we are also temporarily there's no way to tell which one is clean, so it's better to leave it to the Silver Patriarch to worry about it. The Silver Patriarch laughed loudly. He didn't mind this trouble at all, but welcomed it very much. I understand what you two mean. Don't worry, if the current situation is not resolved, our demon clan will not be able to be quiet, whether it is a human or a demon cultivator. They all practiced on this continent, and they were made smoky by those guys. It's not good at all. Thanks to the Yin Patriarch for taking the trouble, Guyao and Chi Changjai said together. The Silver Clan leader got a satisfactory result and was about to leave. Recently, he was in a good mood. When he just stepped out, he remembered something and turned around and said, I think the uncle you are looking for should have a direction to look for. You have limited information. I don't know that after the appearance of the monster recently, another force appeared in the mainland and spread a message about the rumored poison alchemist. A 6th grade alchemist surnamed Wu who often appears in front of people. Guyao was both happy and surprised. Really? Where are they now? It should be the latest news. They haven't spread here yet. The Silver Patriarch shook his head. I don't know, but when I received the news, it made me suspect that it might have something to do with your uncle. If you follow this clue, you may find the result you want. Although there is no definite news, Guyao is still grateful to the Silver Patriarch who brought this news. The Silver Patriarch waved his hand and turned around, disappeared in mid-air, and walked away. Not even the city lord of the city was disturbed. His strength was indeed impressive. Chi Changjai pressed Guyao's shoulder. I also think it may have something to do with my uncle. Uncle should have guessed that alchemist Yao is you, so I will clarify the rumors at this time. If the news is true, then Xiaoao, you should be at ease. At least uncle is safe and hiding in the dark. Guyao nodded. What he was most worried about was that his uncle would fall into the hands of that group of people, and he didn't know what kind of torture he would endure. People should pay attention to the news outside, and I also need to hurry up to study the antidote. When the antidote is researched and he can make a name for himself I believe that my uncle should be able to see it and come to contact him. This is the way Guyao can think of. Otherwise, in such a huge continent, how to find hidden people? 2 days later, Guyao went to the temporary alchemist hall to get some materials for the experiment, and happened to run into the well-informed alchemist Yan. The latter saw Guyao's eyes lit up again and ran over. Said, there is big news again, Donji Lu, do you want to listen? Guyao couldn't help laughing. You say, I'll listen. Alchemist Yan immediately dragged a piece of huangzi, and said to Guyao, didn't I tell you that there were rumors outside, saying that alchemist Yao was the poison alchemist, but now there is a new statement outside, saying alchemist Yao's age is fundamental. It doesn't match. Yao Donji only came from other continents, and everyone who has seen him knows that his cultivation age is still young, and he doesn't have the time to get any poison. He also said that Changxianmen should know best about this. They didn't know it before. Are you looking for that Yao Donji and a thunder sword cultivator? As soon as Guyao heard it, he felt that he was clarifying the rumors for himself to clear his reputation, so he wondered if it had something to do with his uncle or someone else did it. Guyao glanced at Pill Master Yan with a smile. Didn't you think that Pill Master Yao was suspicious before, and you said that he is famous for his reputation, and it is impossible to refine so many top-quality pills? Alchemy Yan smiled dryly. I just said it casually. Don't let Alchemy Yao know about it. In fact, I still admire Alchemy Yao very much. The ghosts believed that, Guyao slandered. Yan Alchemist continued, aren't you curious who is the poison alchemist? There are rumors outside that the real poison alchemist is the 6th grade alchemist in Changxianmen. Actually, think about it. That's right, many of the 7th rank alchemists here are helpless with this toxin. How could it be the 7th rank alchemist who created it? Not true, that offends both Changxianmen and Wu alchemist, and it is said that Wu alchemist is likely to be a 6th grade senior alchemist. A 6th grade high-level alchemist is definitely rarer than a late nascent soul cultivator. It is an existence that many nascent soul cultivators have to offer up, and has a very high status in the minds of all alchemists. Therefore, if he is a poison alchemist, many the Alchemist Association took the initiative to stand up and refute. Guyao raised his eyebrows, but he felt that the rumors were not in vain. This 6th grade alchemist was probably a key figure in the organization. A staff member came out and replied to Guyao, "I'm very sorry, Alchemist Lu, the materials you asked for have already been called by other alchemists. Recently, various resources cannot be mobilized from outside, so Linko is a little nervous. We can only give priority to supplying some alchemists." Guyao was a little disappointed, but it was understandable to think about it. "It's okay, then I'll wait, please." Guyao turned around and left. He had some ideas that he wanted to practice, but he didn't have all the materials in hand, so he came here to apply. Obviously, this way is impossible, because in the eyes of others, he has never heard of it. Famous alchemists are not as reliable as those lesser-known alchemists. Of course, materials are given priority to them under limited circumstances. Transmigration, First-Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 264. Qi Changjai was waiting outside the temporary alchemy hall. When Guyao came out, he saw that he was looking in a certain direction, and the voices outside seemed to be quite lively. Just when he was about to ask something, the Danshi ran out from inside. Said excitedly, "Alchemist Han Qi from Changxianmen is here. I heard that he was invited by the city lord to the city lord's mansion. We will definitely have a chance to see Alchemist Han later." Guyao looked at Qi Changjai in surprise. The latter nodded and said, "Just now, a group of people flew over, and there was Alchemist Han Qi. The battle was quite big, and the monks in the city seemed to be very optimistic about Alchemist Han." Guyao didn't intend to stay and watch, so he told Alchemist Yan that something had happened to inform him, and he and Qi Changjai left the temporary alchemy hall, but did not go back immediately, but went to the street outside, which was deserted a lot, but this time it became lively again because of the arrival of Danshi Han. Guyao was not as optimistic as they were. The matter was originally inseparable from the Changxian sect, so what did the Changxian sect send people to do at this time? "Brother Ye, do you think Changxianmen is really willing to come up with an antidote?" He was even more skeptical that the person who came up with the poison had an antidote on his own. Qi Changjai carried his hands on his back and said, "You have to do something good, at this time, for the city owner. Having a 6th grade alchemist to join is something you can't ask for." Guyao said about the scarcity of materials. If there are not enough materials, it is difficult for a clever woman to cook without rice. Now that Han Qi is here, he can't reveal his identity. He shouted, his forehead bulged, and someone next to him shouted, "No, he must have been slapped." Someone immediately sounded the alarm, and a team of guards flew over from the air and surrounded him in mid-air. A chain flew out of each cultivator's hand, instantly trapping the cultivator's limbs and body. This posture took him away, and the cultivators around him were relieved, so the topic turned from Dan Master Han to the cultivator who was killed. I don't know when these days will end. When the two returned to their residence, Lu Huajing and Yang Muking also came back, and they came back specially because of Han Kai's arrival. Not only Han Qi is here, but Ning Hui is also here. You have to be careful, after all, he has seen you. Lu Huajing was a little worried. They were both alchemists and would definitely have contact. He was worried that Ning Hui would recognize Guyao, which would be very unfavorable to Guyao. On the contrary, he and Yang Muking were better. Qi Guyao is much smaller. I know, you guys are also careful. If it doesn't work, we'll leave. Guyao didn't have to stay here to continue his research. He has collected all the toxin samples that should be collected. Where can he not study? Staying here is also because this is the front line of the incident, and you can communicate with other alchemists and gather everyone's strengths. But to Guyao's disappointment, the atmosphere of communication between alchemists here is not as good as that of the Alchemist Guild on Tianlin continent, and the phenomenon of seniority ranking is very serious, so most of the time he can't talk, so he just stays quiet. Listen carefully. Also Lu Huajing replied without any pressure, the ancestor was safe, and his scruples were much less. Just when Guyao was thinking about whether to leave, Tian Firong and Little Fatty, who had never heard from them, finally got in touch with them. When they returned to the land, Guyao sent them a message, but maybe the distance was too far and it was not within the range of the communication. So there has been no reply. Knowing the location of Guyao and Qi Changjai, the two were about to rush over to meet, but they were stopped by Qi Changjai, so they made another arrangement and told them how to defend against those monsters outside the city. Although there is no way to rescue those monks who have been killed, there are still many ways to better defend. Inside the city lord's mansion, one of the alchemists who was helping Ning Hui was reporting to him the situation in the alchemy hall. How can those rabble people compare with senior brother Ning? I think they are just wasting their time, taking advantage of the opportunity to take advantage of city lord Guan, otherwise where can they get so many spirit grasses? Let's see what they have come up with so far, and seeing senior brother Ning and Dan Master Han coming over, they are not respectful, so I think they will come together in front of Dan Master Han. Ning Hui just listened to it. He didn't take it seriously. He was concerned about another question. Are you sure there are no suspicious alchemists in the alchemy hall? Alchemist Lu patted his chest and assured, Brother Ning, don't worry, those alchemists are all wine bags and rice bags, and I asked people to keep their eyes on them, and if there is any abnormal situation, I will tell Senior Ning immediately. Ning Hui waved his hand to let him go down. After coming here, he somehow remembered Guyale from Tianlin continent. His reputation plummeted. Although there was no conclusive evidence, even his disciples suspected that Li Qi had taken other people's quenching pills as his own. After a long time, Li Qi could not even maintain the original level of alchemy. Once this incident was exposed, it made people feel that Li Qi was guilty of a thief. Now Master Han Qi no longer recruits Li Qi to him. In front of him, this is a signal that Master has also given up on Li Qi. Otherwise, the opportunity to travel this time, the opportunity to follow Master's side would never be his Ning Hui's, but Li Qi's. Ning Hui had no sympathy for Li Qi's fate, and he didn't know if he would be able to control his desires if such an opportunity to make a name for himself was presented to him. Otherwise Li Qi's fate might be his. After Guya's eye appeared in Fenjian City, there was no news. Ning Hui had an intuition, this guy must be living well somewhere, and he might come out of something, so he was suspicious when he came here, and he might hide in the alchemist. In the hall, so let people check the situation of those alchemists. I have to say that Ning Hui's intuition is very sharp. A few days later, Ning Hui found that the number of spirit grasses sent was getting smaller and smaller. He felt unhappy and asked someone to ask what was going on. Alchemist Lu came back, and truthfully reported that the various resources in the city are very tense, especially the various spirit herbs, and the merchants outside are not willing to take risks here. In fact, City Lord Guan also had a headache. He thought that Han Qi would bring a batch of Linko resources, but he didn't expect that he would need to mobilize from them. The spirit grass will run out first. Just when City Lord Guan was thinking about taking people out in person, some of his subordinates ran in and said in surprise, City Lord, good news, great news. The Business Alliance has sent people to help us and sent us a batch of the most needed spiritual grass resource. Really? Great, the City Lord will go meet them in person. Guan City Lord was overjoyed. The assistance of the Business Alliance was the best timely rain, and when the Business Alliance team arrived, Guan City Lord personally brought a large number of guards to expel the monsters escorted the Business Alliance team into the city, and many monks in the city spontaneously came out to welcome the arrival of the business alliance. Guyao and Chi Changjai stood in front of the window of the roadside restaurant, looking at the crowd below. Guyao smiled and said, "It's the team led by Director Chi, and City Lord Guan personally escorted it. It seems that he attaches great importance to the arrival of the business alliance." Chi Changjai hooked his lips and said, "It's not good if you don't pay attention. If you go further, you will run out of ammunition and food. If you want to keep your position as the lord of a city, the incidents of these monsters must be resolved." Coincidentally, there were also two people standing in front of the opposite window. It was Ning Hui and his junior brother Lu Donji. Seeing the scene below, Donji Lu was displeased and said, "We didn't receive such a grand reception when we came over that day. But it is a business alliance, can it be compared with our Changxianmen and 6th grade alchemists?" Ning Hui looked at City Lord Guan in the crowd and said, "Now that someone is willing to come over, it is a good thing for City Lord Guan. Whoever helps him solve the problem, he welcomes anyone, and whoever can help him find the antidote, he will definitely treat this person as a guest of honor." Donji Lu said with great confidence, "The antidote is in a mere area. It's hard to live with Donji Han and Brother Ning. After a while, the city master will know how wrong he is." Ning Hui did not agree, but frowned slightly. For some unknown reason, he entered Master's pill room several times and watched Master frown. Good solution. If this poisonous master is helpless, he doesn't know what to do. Ning Hui didn't recognize Guyao and Chi Changjai on the opposite side, but Guyao and Chi Changjai recognized him, but they seemed to swipe over him inadvertently, and only talked about this person when they returned to their seats. Guyao discovered that Ning Hui and Chi Changjai what he saw in the secret realm was a little different. Since Ning Hui came, he had also heard people mention Ning Hui and Li Qi in the alchemy hall. Many alchemists laughed at Li Qi with schadenfreude, and the alchemists of the dignified sex competed to do such shameless things. And also said that the rumor that the poison alchemist was Yao alchemist was rumored before, maybe it had something to do with this Li Qi. The crowd on the street dispersed. The people from the business alliance naturally went to the city lord's mansion and received the warm hospitality of the city lord. Guyao and Chi Changjai did not leave the restaurant. After a while, the sound of deng deng going up the stairs sounded, and then, the door of the private room was knocked. "Come in." A spiritual art was fired, and the people outside pushed open the door. Two male monks with unfamiliar faces walked in. The door closed behind them, and Chi Changjai hit another spiritual art to ensure that the formation was activated and outsiders could not eavesdrop on the voices inside. "Brother Chi, Guyao, we really miss you." The calm expression of the person walking in front just disappeared, and he opened his arms at Guyao with great excitement. However, before he could hug Guyao, he was intercepted by Chi Changjai. He hugged this guy very coldly, and then patted his shoulder. Guyao also stood up and hugged him happily. "Tian our brother is still the same, is the little fat man okay?" Then he hugged the little fat man behind him. The little fat man is also very excited. The four of them have never been separated for so long after they have been together, and the situation outside is not good, so he is always thinking about the safety of Guyao and the others. "We are okay, although we have encountered some things, but they all came over without any risk. How about you?" "I have not been able to contact you." The little fat man was not worried about the environment here, and he specially arranged a layer of formation, and then he sat at the table with peace of mind. The four of them sat together and talked endlessly. They told each other about their experiences after separation. Chi Changjai also had a smile on his lips. To be honest, his feelings for Tian Firong and Little Fatty were deeper than those of the previous brothers and sisters. The two acted more cautiously than before, and the aura on their bodies also thickened a bit. The experiences of Guyao and Chi Changjai shocked Tian Firong and Little Fatty. They didn't expect that they were almost turned into monsters outside. When the monsters appeared, they guessed that it might be related to the forces they wanted to track down. After all, Patriarch Yin had already mentioned monks with strange breaths, and even the disciples Lu Huajing and Ying Muking of Chang's Yen sect were in such a situation. I don't know whether to sympathize with them or what. The encounter between Tianfirong and Little Fatty was not as thrilling as Guyao and the others, but they were also targeted by the people of Changxianmen several times, mainly because they deliberately sabotaged and created chaos. Immortal sect disciples snatched away the treasures they were eyeing. Their idea was very simple. They knew that Guyao and Qi Changjai wanted to sneak into Changxian sect, so they deliberately created chaos so that they could fish in the water. This idea is the same as Zhang Qinzi at the beginning, and I don't know if their approach worked, so at that time, no one verified the identities of Guyao and their loose cultivators, and sent them directly to the island in the Scarlet Forest. But after a long time, they were chased and intercepted by the disciples of Changxianmen. The two fell into a dangerous place during their escape, but they got some opportunities in the dangerous place. News, but by then Guyao and the others had already been sent to the island. They will also keep in touch with Kinzig from time to time. Later, when monsters appeared, they also participated in the operation of eliminating monsters, etc. After one operation, I received messages from Jianfeng Pavilion and Guyao at the same time, so I took the business alliance line according to Guyao's intention. Tianfirong took a storage ring and handed it to Guyao. This is what Pavilion Master Zhang asked us to hand over to you, it's not in the batch of supplies. Guyao swept his consciousness and was overjoyed, the materials he listed were all collected. Now, he also sent a lot of spirit grasses that he didn't list on the list, and the quantity was very sufficient. It was exactly what he needed most at the moment, because even if the business alliance sent a batch of materials, Xiangbei would be supplying Han closely. Gee, those alchemists, not many fell into his hands. Thank you. This time I let you take the risk and send it to me. Guyao looked at Tianfirong and the little fat man and smiled. We are good brothers. Tianfirong waved his hand with a proud look. Cut, it's not that Pavilion Master Zhang sent Senior Yuan Ying to protect us, otherwise the monsters outside are really difficult to deal with. Brother Qi, you don't know, those monsters outside have also turned into monsters. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 265. After meeting in the restaurant, Tianfirong and Little Fatty still returned to the business alliance, and waited until they had settled the matter here and left. The next day, Alchemist Yan came to find Guyao to go to the alchemy hall together. This time they should be able to get more materials. Alchemy Yan was very excited and said a lot of good things about the business alliance, and said, I don't know whether the business alliance recruits alchemists or not. After this incident, I want to go to the business alliance. I heard that the treatment of loose cultivators in the past is very good, it is much better than going out alone. Guyao laughed, of course you can, how can you say that you are also a 7th grade alchemist, and there is hope that you can take a step forward. I think the business alliance is still very welcome to the 7th grade alchemist asterisk. However, Guyao said, maybe Dan Shi can consider changing careers, some positions are more suitable for him than alchemists. The two went to the alchemy hall, and Qi Changjai followed Guyao not far or near. Many alchemists have such entourage guards around them. After all, in the eyes of the world, alchemists are not very effective in combat, and they cannot be neglected in terms of safety. Fighting monks are also happy to follow an alchemist. When I arrived at the alchemy hall, I found that the alchemists who I didn't see often gathered here. Alchemist Yan held one of them to ask about the situation. It was actually Alchemist Han who was about to come over and ask them about the recent research results of these alchemists. Some were excited, some were apprehensive. Some people say that it seems that someone mentioned above, some people are just wasting resources here, and no matter how much time and spirit herbs are given to them, they can't get any results, so it is very likely that the distribution of spirit herbs should be arranged according to the progress of each alchemist. Asterisk. Excited people are very confident in their own alchemy skills. This spirit grass can't hold their head, and maybe they can get close to a 6th grade alchemist, get a few pointers from the 6th grade alchemist, and bury their heads more than themselves. After pondering for a few months and years, the results have come a lot. Alchemy Yan's eyes rolled straight and he was anxious, because he was one of the alchemists who did not make any progress, and he was even more worried that he would leave a bad impression on Alchemy Han and the people in the business alliance. Alchemy Lu, what do you say? What to do? Guyao reassured him, it doesn't matter, some people try to study, and some people make medicine pills step by step, the latter does not mean that they are not needed. Really? Alchemy Yan asked for proof. Really? Guyao actually wanted to say, really don't plan to change careers? After waiting in place for a long time, Alchemist Han finally appeared, accompanied by the City Lord, the Business Alliance and others, and the steward of the City Lord's mansion announced the new rules on the spot. So today, Alchemist Han personally sits in the Alchemy Hall to help those who really need it. The Alchemy Master provides the greatest support, and of course other Alchemy Masters will also give heavy remuneration. I hope everyone can continue to provide the necessary medicinal pills for the monks in the city to clear the monsters. Qi Yi also stood aside and looked at the alchemists present, his eyes wandering around to see which one was Yao alchemist or Gu alchemist, but he couldn't help laughing in the end. No wonder no one could find him outside, not even him. It is impossible to tell from the faces of these alchemists. This disguising technique is really clever. Some of the alchemists in the room are quite old. They have their eyebrows and beards grabbed. They usually hold their own identity. Today, they are very excited. Guyao raised his eyebrows secretly, and stood on the side with low eyebrows pleasing to the eye, but his ears were pricked up to listen carefully. Such an opportunity was exactly what he needed. The idea of not wasting materials was still here for other purposes. At this moment, he saw that Ning Hui looked at these alchemists with scrutiny, and immediately withdrew his gaze. Ning Hui was very suspicious of what junior brother Lu said. Today was the opportunity to observe it in person. After Guyao came to Qinhao continent, he had the image of Pill Master Yao in his hand. Compared with Guyao in his memory, he found the person was still the same person, but the face was replaced by another, so he carefully searched among these alchemists to see if there were any with the same body shape, and secretly kept a few suspicious people in his heart. Guyao didn't know what Ning Hui was thinking. He was now a chubby cultivator with fair skin, which seemed to be related to the lack of exercise of the alchemist all the year round, so Ning Hui's eyes stayed on him for a while and then moved away. No, there was another gaze that stayed on him for a while. Unlike Ning Hui's scrutiny, Guyao was worried that something might be revealed, so he never raised his head to see who the gaze came from. The more Han Qi heard that, the more impatient he became, but Guyao listened very seriously. Everyone has their own areas of expertise. It can be said that there are still some gains by combining what others are good at with their own. Going up seems to be empty, but Guyao finds it very interesting. Although it is not used for the time being, he can try it when he has time. Alchemist Yan has returned from a loss. He is really good at alchemy. Facing such a toxin that he has never been exposed to before, it is difficult to put forward any constructive ideas. Naturally, he failed to get Han Kai's good face. The alchemist who came over even cast a contempt on him, as if to say that he came in to deceive some spirit herbs to use. Guyao's voice was slightly hoarse, and he also reported his progress, but it was only a little better than the norm. He also received several contemptuous glances. Guyao lowered his head and showed a look of shame. Returning to his seat, Alchemist Yan poked him and said, "We are brothers and sisters. Fortunately, the city lord's mansion is quite interesting. Let's make alchemy in the future it's useless." Okay, Guyao replied with a smile. It was finally over. The amount of spiritual herbs Gu Yao received was very limited. In addition, he received the materials for refining and replenishing spiritual energy and healing pills. How many pills should be handed over within the specified time, and then someone will come to collect them? Gu Yao naturally did not refuse. On the way back, Ning Hui still did not lift his brows. Don Qilu cared and asked, "Brother, what are you thinking about?" Ning Hui shook his head. He was a little disappointed by today's results. The two alchemists he focused on had nothing to do with them. Compared with the people who had encountered in the secret realm, they looked extremely mediocre. He suddenly remembered something and asked, "What happened to the business alliance that made you pay attention? Did they contact any alchemist in particular?" Alchemist Lu thought for a moment and said, "No, I haven't seen any of them except our side. They have contact with any alchemist. As long as they are not stupid, they all know how to choose. Those guys' alchemy skills can be compared with senior brothers." Ning Hui sighed, "Forget it, let's go back. Researching the antidote is the most important thing right now." Having said that, Ning Hui felt a little uneasy in his heart. The toxin he encountered this time seemed to be a combination of poisons that had been difficult to solve before. It was even more difficult. He has no clue until now. There is no way to start with a master, but the thoughts of those alchemists today don't seem to have much effect. He worried that if the poison could not be solved, it would affect the reputation of Master and Chang Xianmen's alchemy technique. Although the original quenching den could be pushed to Li Qi, but again and again, it would inevitably make people feel long. Xianmen alchemists' alchemy waves have gained a false reputation. In fact, the highest alchemist in Chang Xianmen is not his master Han Qi, but the alchemist Wu. There were rumors that the alchemist Wu was the poison alchemist who created these poisons. At this time, alchemist Wu came forward to study. The antidote would be more convincing, but alchemist Wu had never been seen, and the master told him to leave it alone. When Gu Yao returned to his residence, he first refined a batch of medicinal pills. The quality of this batch of medicinal pills must also be controlled. It took a lot of effort to get a batch of middle-grade medicinal pills and left them to Qi Changjai and others to collect the medicinal pills. He handed it over when it was time to take medicine, and then plunged into his laboratory. Now that the spirit grass is abundant, he couldn't help but want to practice his various ideas. Qi Changjai walked into the laboratory. Fortunately, no outsiders came in. The protection here is also very strict, so no one saw that the table on the ground was full of various materials, as well as various test tubes and various spiritual liquids extracted from the test tubes. What made Qi Changjai laugh the most was that a black jade tape in Gu Yao's hand fluttered on the table twice and then died, like a real dead thing. Gu Yao looked at the transparent test tube in his hand. The blood that was originally black and red started to fade away under the gentle shaking, until it finally returned to the original blood red color. Qi Changjai raised his eyebrows, not surprising at all, and very much with Yurong. Yan. Su Chen was also floating in midair, and together with Gu Yao, he paid attention to the blood in the transparent test tube. At this time, he clapped his hands and said, "It seems that the initial success has been achieved, but whether it can work on the cultivator, will it have any other effects? We still need a cultivator to test it out for ourselves." "Oh, I didn't expect that the sea belt fished up from the bottom of the sea had such a function." Su Chen laughed. The sea tidal wave jumped unwillingly again. Gu Yao hurriedly touched it soothingly. "Mou made a great contribution this time." Mou swooped back to Gu Yao's waist with a swoosh, and acted peacefully as its honest belt. The several antidote methods Gu Yao thought of were all using poison to fight poison, so many of the materials sent by Tuokin Z Pavilion were poisonous weeds, and poisonous insects. Looking at the sea, the poison of the sea can actually corrode or even swallow the soul of the gods to a certain extent. Qi Changjai was very happy. He stood with his arms crossed, and reminded, "There is something to consider." If this antidote really works, then Xiaoao, do you want to hand over the sea belt? Gu Yao looked down at Mou who was on his waist. Mou seemed to tremble a little, and couldn't help but press his eyebrows. Of course not, it seems we have to think of a better way. Mou's ability is very special. If he reveals it, the final result will definitely not be able to keep Mou, but Mou's venom is also very special. It is not the same as the sea plant it devoured, and even that kind of plant. It is useful, it is swallowed up by the sea and it is almost extinct, and it cannot grow to the required scale in a short time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 266. Gu Yao naturally couldn't hand over the sea belt, and he didn't want to be exposed under the eyes of Chang Xianmen for the time being. Just when he was thinking about how to get in touch with Director Qi brought someone to the door. Before he could suspect anything, Quan Qi explained in advance, the business alliance is in a time when there is a shortage of people, especially the alchemist and the alchemist Lu. If you have any intentions, the business alliance is very welcome. The manager of the city lord's mansion who accompanied manager Qi came to him was very embarrassed. He came all the way and watched the business alliance shamelessly win over the alchemist on their territory, and put their city master's mansion on where? Land. But they can't drive out the business alliance, but at this juncture, they sent a large amount of support without fear of danger, and they can't avenge their revenge. Please come in and talk about it in detail. Qi Changjai made a heartwarming expression, and glanced at his side. Naturally, someone left the people from the city lord's mansion outside, and he brought people in with Qi Changjai. Well, let's talk in detail. Fellow Daoist Qi Guanqi asked tentatively when he saw Qi Changjai activated the formation. Qi Changjai smiled calmly, that's right, it's me. Xiaoao and I were just looking for Steward Qi to discuss things, and Steward Qi came to the door. Qi Yi laughed. He actually had two purposes for this trip. First, he wanted to know who Gu Yao was pretending to be. Second, he really wanted to win over the alchemist to join the business alliance. The alchemists seemed to be quite intentional, and the conditions offered by Beijing Shang alliance made them very tempted. I don't know what is the important matter of Yao Danqi looking for Qi. The pavilion master explained that no matter what, he will let Qi cooperate fully. As soon as Qi Yi's words were finished, Gu Yao walked out from the inside, and it was Qi Changjai's voice transmission telling him that Qi Yi was here. After the initial results of the previous experiment, Gu Yao and Su Chen cooperated again to finalize the pill recipe. These days, he still stayed in the pill room busy with pill concocting, so now he came out with a pill anger on his body. Governor Qi. Gu Yao greeted Governor Qi with a smile, and Qi Yi recognized him immediately. When he recalled the scene in the alchemy hall that day, he couldn't help laughing at Gu Yao's low-key back then, but now he is the queen of the world. Showing his original temperament, this smile is not the same as Yao Danqi's. Alchemy Yao has fooled me too. Alchemy Yao is looking for me at the moment. Is there a lack of materials, or? Qi Yi couldn't help but guess, could it be that Gu Yao has already developed an antidote? Because his attitude was too calm, and he didn't look impatient at all, and as far as he knew, even the people around Han Qi couldn't hold back. Gu Yao asked Steward Qi to sit down and said, there are some eyebrows, but we still need a cultivator to experiment with it, or a monster, but it is not convenient for us to do things, and we don't want to reveal our identities. Qi Yi immediately understood and was very excited. If he really came up with an antidote, no one could deny Gu Yao's level of alchemy. In his opinion, Gu Yao was definitely a genius among geniuses, a talent in alchemy. No one can compare. There is nothing to hesitate at this time, Gu Yao asked him. He will definitely cooperate with all his strength, Although Alchemist Yao can handle this matter to us, if Alchemist Yao doesn't want to disclose it, we will have a better way to deal with it. Qi Yi talked with them for a quarter of an hour, and the people in the city lord's mansion outside were almost impatient, only to see Qi Yi come out from the inside. Gu Yao also followed, his expression seemed a little excited, Qi Yi also with a very satisfied look. The people in the city lord's mansion did not understand what happened. This alchemist Lu was drawn over by the business alliance, and he was another alchemist who was moved by a lot of money. Although Qi Yi had several more bottles of medicinal pills in his storage ring, he suppressed the idea of going to verify it immediately, and continued to visit other alchemists calmly, giving a modest gift, showing the business alliance's treatment of all medicinal pills. Of course, there are also alchemists who are unmoved by the teacher's attention, and shut out the people from the business alliance. The city lord's mansion here is naturally aware of the movement and quietness, and Ning Hui was also told. Ning Hui listened and listened to it, but he didn't think that Qi Yi valued which alchemist very much. The alchemist named Gu Yao didn't show up here? Ning Hui felt that this opportunity was an excellent moment of fame. He thought, how could an alchemist like Gu Yao miss this opportunity? The more the alchemist started at the end of the world without the sex influence, shouldn't he want to seize every opportunity to become famous? Otherwise, how could such an alchemist be able to stand out? Isn't the auction of need for pills a gimmick created by Gu Yao? Of course, Ning Hui also admitted that Gu Yao did have the strength to be famous, so he felt that Gu Yao would not miss this opportunity. 10 days later, Master Lu Dan came to Ning Hui, "Senior brother, is there something I don't know what to say?" Ning Hui urged impatiently, "Hurry up and say something." Alchemist Lu said, "There was a disappearance from the alchemy hall, and there was an alchemist named Lu who left the city without saying hello, but no one knew when they left, and it was one of them, Dan named Yan. The teacher went to find someone, and found that there was only a message left for Dan Master, saying that there was something to leave early." "What? Did you leave? When did it happen?" Ning Hui stood up abruptly and asked Donji Lu with his eyes fixed on him. Alchemist Lu didn't take it seriously, but he knew that Ning Hui told him to keep an eye on the movements of the alchemists at the alchemy hall, so even though he didn't think it was important for a young alchemist to leave, he came over and told him after thinking about it, about 5 or 6 days. Maybe 7 or 8. Damn it, Ning Hui cursed, and Donji Lu didn't know who Ning Hui was scolding. Ning Hui was so angry that he came to tell him now that even if he wanted to seek evidence, it was too late. After all this time, what kind of alchemist Lu ran away? Where did he go to chase people? He kept being stared at, but he didn't expect to run right under his nose. What is the surname of Lu? He dared to say that the surnamed Lu is the surname of Yao, that is, Gu Yao himself. He stopped abruptly and ordered, "Go out and see, something unusual will happen recently." If the surnamed Lu was really Gu Yao, why would he choose to leave at such a time? Although Ning Hui couldn't believe it, he still had an intuition that he must have achieved the purpose of this trip before leaving quietly. Master has not come up with an effective detoxification method. How could Gu Yao, a 7th grade alchemist, do it? Seeing junior brother Lu running out, Ning Hui panicked, unable to calm down even analyzing the venom, so he simply walked out. After walking too far, Donji Lu ran back again, with an unbelievable look on his face. Before anyone approached, the voice called out, "Senior brother Ning, there was a message from the city lord's mansion that someone had appeared with an antidote, and the city lord's mansion asked we and Dan Master Han went over to verify together." Ning Hui's brain hummed, as if someone had tapped with a big hammer. Sure enough, his hunch appeared. That surnamed Lu must be Gu Yao himself. Ning Hui in a trance went with Donji Lu to City Lord Guan. City Lord Guan was in a small square. It was Zhang Qianfeng who was talking to him. Zhang Qianfeng was standing behind him, who was not the one who was acting on behalf of the business alliance before. Where they weren't, Director Qi had already met with Gu Yao, but Ning Hui clearly remembered that Gu Yao and Qi Changjai had stayed in Beihe City for a while, and they had a close relationship with the city lord's mansion of Bai 5K City. Han Qi was late, and Guan Chenzu, who was talking with Zhang Qianfeng very happily, saw Han Kai's appearance, but his eyes darkened, but he would not offend a 6th grade alchemist in vain. Bai Jing's strength was there. Han Qi didn't care about this, and asked coldly, City Lord Guan said someone showed up with an antidote? Who came up with the antidote? Who made the antidote? I wonder if Han could see it? Faced with such doubts, City Lord Guan flashed a trace of displeasure in his heart, but he also knew that he could not offend Chang Xianmen, but Chang Xianmen was too overbearing, and there are still rumors that the alchemist is behind the scenes. Alchemist's rumors. City Lord Guan said lightly, the antidote is provided by the Business Alliance, and Guan who researched it is also very curious, but the alchemist himself is not willing to disclose his identity, and Guan cannot force it? Zhang Qianfeng said, yes, the alchemist himself passed by chance when he was traveling, and he was very sad about the situation here, so he wanted to do his best. Entrusted to the Business Alliance to deal with it, Zhang came non-stop after learning about the matter. Dan Shi, I wonder if it is possible to verify the effect of the medicinal pill now. What alchemist Han didn't know was that before Zhang entered the city, this medicinal pill had already been tested on the poisoned monster. Unfortunately for the alchemist, the antidote was not perfect and would leave some sequelae. The monks and monsters after poisoning will suffer some damage to their cultivation and soul, so they need other medicine pills to help them, or they can make up for it by recultivating the monks. It should also be noted that this antidote itself is a poison, and it uses a method of fighting poison with poison, so it needs to be used with caution. People who have not been exposed to this type of poison will only infect themselves with another type of toxin. As soon as Zhang Qianfeng finished speaking, the small square was buzzing, and all the alchemists from the alchemy hall came. Some people spent a lot of energy on this, and some people thought about the method of fighting poison with poison, but it was not so easy to do. I didn't expect the alchemist behind the Business Alliance to do it. Which alchemist do you think it will be? It is said that it is a business alliance, but it is actually related to the Qianfeng Pavilion in Beihe City. Don't you know that the pavilion owner of Qianfeng Pavilion is Senior Zhang? Think about which alchemist has a good relationship with Senior Zhang and City Lord Lu. No way, you said it was the Yaodan master? Then why didn't he show up? The alchemist and the other monks were discussing a lot. Zhang Qianfeng took out the medicinal pill over there. The medicinal pill was dark red in color and looked a little weird, and it didn't have the good smell of other medicinal herbs, but had a stench. Seeing this medicinal pill, some monks can't help but subconsciously stay a few steps away, saying that it is an antidote, but it is also a poison, and the toxicity must be very strong. Wait, Han Qi said with a sullen face, if after taking this medicinal pill, not only did it not detoxify, but instead the poisoned person was injured and died, what should I do? Why don't you let Han test it first? No, I'm willing to let my brother test the medicine. We are at our own risk, and we don't need Senior Zhang and that alchemist to be responsible. A monk in the small square shouted loudly and walked out with a few monks. The monk behind was carrying a stretcher with a person bound on the stretcher. The person was still struggling, and the sound of chains colliding from time to time was heard. We are also willing to test the medicine, there is no time to wait any longer. City Master Guan, Senior Zhang, we are willing to test the medicine, several monks shouted in the crowd. Getting worse. Han Kai's expression became more and more cold, and his gaze towards City Lord Guan was also a little unkind. If it wasn't for the surnamed Guan who set up the location here and attracted so many cultivators, how could such a situation arise? Let him have no room for reconciliation? He shrugged his sleeves and said, then try it, you are at your own risk. The people around Zhang Qianfeng immediately brought the medicinal pills to the monk who first came forward to ask for the test medicine. They first asked about the situation of the poisoned person in detail, and judged the depth of the poisoning. The tragic poisoner was fed. After the pill was fed, the cultivator struggled even more violently, tearing and roaring again and again. After a while, his face turned black, and his breath seemed to become weaker. The onlookers were all worried and suspicious. Poison. The man's face showed a look of pain, and about a cup of tea, he tilted his head and opened his mouth to spit out black blood. The black blood fell to the ground and eroded one by one pits, and the man disappeared. Immediately, a medical practitioner stepped forward to examine him, and after a careful examination, he showed a happy expression. Sure enough, as Pavilion Master Zhang said, the poison in the body has been eliminated, but the body is very weak and the loss is not small, and it needs to be well recuperated. The person who gave the cultivator the antidote immediately poured out a few more pills and stuffed them into the mouth of the unconscious cultivator. Originally, the cultivator's face turned black, and after spitting out poisonous blood, the blackness receded, but he was pale and looked extremely weak. After taking the medicinal pill, the breath has obviously grown longer, but as this person said, the sequelae are very large, and it takes time to recuperate. Whether it can be restored to the original state depends on the strength of the individual and whether he can afford the medicinal pills he needs. Medicine, after all, the elixir for repairing the soul is not a good thing. Thank you, many thanks to Pavilion Master Zhang and the Business Alliance, thank you. The cultivator who led this person as the first drug tester was so excited that his voice was choked up. Even if his cultivation went backwards, it would still be better than being reduced to a monster. Wow, I really got rid of the poison, it turned out to be true. Which alchemist is so talented, he solved such an intractable poison? Some people said that it was Alchemist Yao, but isn't Alchemist Yao a 7th grade alchemist? How about a genius? As far as I know, although there are 6th grade alchemists in the Business Alliance, those 6th grade alchemists have not left the Business Alliance, and they will not disclose their identities. Guanshanzhu was also very excited, and immediately arranged more poisoners to detoxify. The detoxification pill was controlled by the people of the Business Alliance, because the pills were divided into 3 grades, those with mild poisoning, those with severe poisoning, and those with deep poisoning. The pills taken are different, and the right medicine is prescribed. City Lord Guan is also very cautious. If Bai Jing's medicinal pill is not used properly, he will become a poisoner. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 267. More and more monks were rescued, and they were grateful to the alchemist who developed the antidote. Ning Hui smiled bitterly. In a desolate place, a genius alchemist like a monstrosity was competed, which was really shocking. Han Qi left halfway, otherwise it would be embarrassing to stay where he was. There are always so many alchemists and cultivators looking at him secretly, and you can guess what they are thinking without getting into their minds. The teacher was unable to come up with the antidote, but now he has been solved by an unknown alchemist, and some people even involved him and Li Qi, casting doubt on his reputation. When Ning Hui came back, he saw that Master was researching with the antidote. He didn't dare to say anything, knowing that Master would not be in a good mood at the moment. Who do you think is the alchemist who came up with this pill? Han Kai's cold voice sounded, and Ning Hui shuddered. You said it was the little alchemist named Gu Yao who came from Tianlin continent? Is there no one behind him to teach him alchemy? Han Qi could identify some of the ingredients in the elixirs, but there were many that could not be distinguished. What makes him even more embarrassed is that once he uses other methods to analyze the medicine pill, the balance of the whole medicine pill will be broken immediately. The refining method of this medicine pill is extremely clever. Ning Hui thought for a while to make sure he didn't miss anything. I haven't heard of who this person worshipped as a teacher, and this person is very young, maybe he has an extraordinary inheritance. Ning Hui felt that no matter how talented he was, he couldn't have achieved such an achievement in such a short period of time. This was what he was very envious of, but he didn't find it under his nose. It seemed that such inheritance had no chance for him. You go down. After Ning Hui retreated, Han Chi turned around and reported the situation here to the section. No matter what, he had to find this person. Not only did Han Chi covet the son's inheritance of alchemy techniques, but he also ruined the situation. One of his disciples. In his view, the disciples are something he can give up on his own initiative, but he can't allow others to destroy them. Li Qi can also be said to be destroyed in the hands of this alchemist named Gu Yao. The provocation of authority is also the stain that he must clean up. The situation in the city is getting better day by day, which makes the operation of clearing the remaining monsters much smoother, and no longer hampered in action because of fear of being bitten and poisoned. Yi stood up and told them very frankly. There is an ingredient in the alchemy recipe that is very scarce, and it was obtained by the alchemist when he traveled abroad, and this ingredient is the most important ingredient, so this alchemy recipe is destined to be unable to be popularized, but don't worry, this time preparation the medicinal herbs are enough to treat the poisoned inside and outside the city. What material is so rare? Could it be some kind of treasure? Qi Yi smiled, he didn't give up trying to find out, but alchemist Yao gave the answer, so he said, this ingredient actually comes from the sea, and it's a different plant in the sea that has mutated due to various opportunities. The inquirer could only leave in disappointment. These words also reached the ears of Ning Hui and Han Chi. Han Chi tapped on the table and closed his eyes in thought. When the sound of tapping on the table stopped, his eyes also opened. Is this true or false? If it is true, the alien plants in the sea are indeed rare, and the performance of the mutant spirit grass plants is the most difficult. It is very likely that there is only one plant on the continent, because no one knows which direction it mutates, and even in the same environment and the same conditions, two of the same spirit grass may mutate in different directions. Ning Hui said in surprise, Master, then his luck is too good. Such a mutant plant also made him meet Ning Hui. It is clear that Master is also seeking a medicinal formula. If this is the case, then the medicinal formula can be obtained even if how much does it work? The order in the city was quickly restored, and the pressure outside the city was greatly reduced. This daunting monster finally had its nemesis, so that the forces around the city no longer held an attitude of evasion, and even many forces and monks took the initiative. Joined in to eliminate the monsters outside, these forces and monks also received a warm welcome from the city master Guan. What followed was that all parties inquired about the sacredness of the alchemist who came up with the antidote. However, City Lord Guan could not give an answer to this question. At this time, the people from the business alliance had left, but there were some monks in the city. While discussing whether it was brought out by alchemist Yao, who was short-lived before, a cultivator once asked Zhang Qinzi personally, but Zhang Qinzi laughed and didn't answer, which made people even more inferred. After sending off another group of monks, City Lord Guan sighed helplessly, and the housekeeper in charge of the chores of the City Lord's mansion came to report, City Lord, the original residence of Alchemist Lu has been visited by many monks, and the land inside has been turned over several layers. Now, is that Alchemist Lu really dressed up by the original Alchemist Yao? Is he the ancient alchemist wanted by Chang Xianmen? This layer of identities made the housekeeper feel dizzy. Thinking that such a talented alchemist was under their noses, they didn't realize it, and they even let the other party secretly communicate with the business alliance. What to do? City Lord Guan sighed, let them look it up, I admire them if they can find out something, it would be better if a business alliance came forward, otherwise I may not be able to keep him comprehensive. Don't forget that Dan Master Han and the Changxian sect behind him are all concerned about this. An alchemist is staring at him. We should thank this alchemist. What Zhang Dao said should be true. It is very likely that this alchemist passed through this place when he was traveling, and he wanted to study this toxin before entering the city and joining the temporary alchemy hall. Now that I think about it, it should be the alchemist's credit for the sudden large amount of supplies sent by the Chamber of Commerce. The housekeeper thought it was not. At that time, there were fewer and fewer materials available in the city, and even less famous alchemists could get them. They almost delayed the big event. Fortunately, a large number of business alliances sent them materials. The alchemist must have another batch in his hands, and with the support of those materials, the antidote can be successfully researched. City Lord, what should we do? The steward asked. Before the Shangman had left, the people from Changxianmen came to the door, hoping that the city owner would help Changxianmen get the antidote and put pressure on the Shangman together. The housekeeper thinks they can't even open this mouth, really open. Wouldn't it be a despicable villain who retaliates with kindness? A cold look flashed in the eyes of the city lord Guan. He was a small city lord who could not fight against the Changxian gate, but he could still dig into the Changxian gate. Let the cultivator who was rescued in the city mention the nameless alchemist, put him the more mysterious the origin, the better. I understand, city lord, I will order it immediately. The butler turned around and went out to make arrangements. This was for the alchemist's growth. Prestige. In fact, without the secret orders of the people in the city lord's mansion, the monks in the city spontaneously promoted the alchemist who rescued them. Many people thought that it might be the incognito alchemist Lu, the alchemist Guyao wanted by Changxianmen, and even the alchemist. People who have taken medicine pills have also personally confirmed that the medicine pills they take are of extremely high quality. With the lifting of the crisis in the city, the reputation of the unknown alchemist spread out at an extremely fast speed. This time it was even worse than the last incident of Li Qi. Whoever asked Han Qi, the sixth-grade alchemist of Changxianmen, came to the city in person sitting down to study the antidote, but in the end, an unknown alchemist won the crown, but Han Qi achieved nothing. Does this mean that the unknown alchemist is still better than the sixth-grade alchemist? That day, Zhang Qinfeng's words also spread together. The main medicine of the antidote is a mutant plant in the sea, which also aroused the interest of some monks and alchemists to explore the sea. Maybe they can also find a new medicine with special functions. In a restaurant, several alchemists were sitting and talking, and the one with the most interest was Alchemist Yan. All of them agreed to join the business alliance or wait and see for a while, and Alchemist Yan also belonged to this category. Asterisk. Alchemy Yan, could it be that the antidote was really researched by Alchemy Lu? You usually walk closest with him, don't you notice any signs? I think this statement is the most bizarre. At the beginning, except for Donji Yan and Donji Lu who got closer, they didn't see anything special about Donji Lu, and the pills they handed over seemed to be ordinary. Alchemist Yan rolled his eyes several times. Can he say that he is also confused? He thought that the friend he was dating was a very ordinary monk, but others told him that it was a golden thigh. What he regrets most now is that he didn't hold the golden thigh earlier, and he was so sorry that he wanted to cry. Alchemy Yan scratched his head. It's not that there are no signs at all, but I didn't pay much attention to it at the time. You didn't realize that Alchemy Lu was the best. The calm one? When Alchemy Han came, we all wanted to get Alchemy Han's attention, but Alchemy Lu seemed to be too calm. Looking back now, Donji Yan still has a lot of suspicious things. He was still pushing Donji Lu at that time. What was Donji Lu's reaction? He seems to be smiling with a good temper all the time. Now that I think about it, I probably don't want to let Alchemy Han focus on it at all. If Alchemy Lu is Alchemist Guyao, I would like to stay as far away from Alchemy Han as possible, but Alchemy Lu actually dares to run to Donji Han stayed under his nose for a whole day, and Donji Yan admired it when he remembered it. The other alchemists said regretfully, Alchemy Lu must have deliberately not wanted to come out on top, so he deliberately kept a low profile, but you said that we went to the business alliance this time, will there be a chance to see him again? That's right, it would be great if you could get a little guidance from this one. Alchemy Yan is also looking forward to it. He wants to personally ask himself to verify maybe we will meet, not to say that this alchemist and the business alliance are especially Zhongqian Zi has a good relationship. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai left the temporary alchemy hall. After they left the city under the arrangement of Qi Yi, they found a place to refine a pot of elixir, and then let the people from the business alliance catch the poisoned monster to test the elixir. The medicinal properties, after the test was successful, the medicinal pill in his hand was handed over to Zhang Jianfeng, who came over in person, and this was the situation behind. This antidote did not belong to him alone. Without the guidance and help of Senior Su Chen, he could not have researched it so quickly. Unfortunately, the existence of Senior Su Chen cannot be told to others. Lu Huajing and Ying Wu, as well as Tian Firong and Little Fatty, all left separately, and the goal of their actions together is too big. Qi Yi arranged for someone to protect Gu Yao's safety. When he knew that the crisis at City Lord Guan was over, Gu Yao focused his attention on the monks who were with them. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 268. Qi Changjai looked at the older monk in front of him and asked, "Who are you?" This man looked to be in his 60s, but the cultivator's appearance didn't mean much at all. Most of the old men with grey eyebrows and beards called young cultivators as seniors. This cultivator paid more attention to Gu Yao than ordinary people, and because he avoided the search of unknown people several times on the way, they did not stay with the people of the business alliance at the moment, because the goal was too obvious, so they separated long ago. Gu Yao stood by Qi Changjai's side and didn't say anything. He just looked at the cultivator with a bit of uncertainty and anxiety. He had an idea in his heart, but he was worried that he would be abrupt. The older cultivator didn't answer Qi Changjai's words, but smiled at Gu Yao. "What do you think about Alchemist Yao or Alchemist Gu?" Gu Yao pursed his lips, or said his guess, "Are you, uncle?" Qi Changjai looked cowardly. No, it wasn't really Xiao's uncle, so would his previous vigilance make a bad impression on his uncle? Ha ha. The older cultivator laughed, and then took off a magic talisman from his body. As soon as the talisman escaped, the whole person changed into a different appearance. Oh no, it should have been removed from the transformed appearance and returned to its original shape. Qi Changjai's eye looked at the handsome and extraordinary-looking cultivator today, and at the magic talisman he held in his hand. This magic talisman even deceived his consciousness and eyes. It's not too shallow, after all, the foreign family is a family of spiritual talismans. I have heard all kinds of enlightenment about magic talismans since I was a child. There are magic talismans that can act as a blindfold, but they can't be so realistic. "Uncle," Gu Yao exclaimed, "it's really you, uncle." After confirming the identity of this person, Qi Changjai didn't know how to position his hands and feet, his body became stiff, and he couldn't think about the peculiarity of the magic talisman. The uncle squinted at Qi Changjai, came over and pulled Gu Yao to the side to sit down and have a good chat. Gu Yao was still a little dizzy, didn't realize Qi Changjai's state. All his eyes were, "This person is really uncle, that's not right." So uncle came with the people from the business alliance and has been in the city. At this time, Gu Yao remembered that his eyes fell on him from time to time, but he didn't feel any malice, and his mind was restrained by researching the antidote, so he didn't devote much energy to paying attention. "So, the owner of that gaze is that uncle?" Zi Bao in the space started to make a fuss and wanted to come out to see his brother. Gu Yao had no choice but to let him out. As soon as Zi Bao came out, he rushed towards the uncle. After removing the resistance, a villain with 2 purple bamboo leaves smashed into his arms, and shouted in a series, "Brother, brother!" It turned out to be this little guy. Uncle picked up the little guy and knocked on his little head. "You are also restless, can't you stay with Xiao?" It's easy to make people jealous when you come out. To say that the uncle has such a strange amulet on his body, this appearance may be fake, but now Zibao's reaction has removed the last doubt in Chi Changai's heart. Zibao recognizes people not only by appearance. Spiritual things rely more on a person's soul breath. However, the uncle didn't let him sit down, so he just stood up, but he was careful, and stood behind Guyao. When the uncle was coaxing Zibao, he didn't forget his surroundings. It made Chi Changai tense and stiff. Zibao was very well behaved, sitting in his uncle's arms affectionately, and then stopped talking to his uncle and Guyao. This picture fell into Guyao's eyes and was undoubtedly otherworldly, without a trace of fireworks, but he had a lot of "I want to know" from my uncle. Xiaoao has a lot of questions, we really need to have a good chat with our uncle and nephew, he said, raising his eyebrows at Chi Changai, who was behind Guyao, meaning that people other than uncle and nephew should avoid it, don't disturb them and talk about privacy talk. Chi Changai twitched the corners of his mouth, but had to bow his hands and say respectfully, then uncle and Xiaoao have a good talk, I'll wait outside, if you need anything, just tell me. A mouthful of an uncle's one made Yin Hua a bit harsh. It could be seen that his nephew didn't object. What else could he say other than heartbreak, so he waved lazily and told him to go out quickly. Chi Changai glanced at Guyao and stepped back. Guyao Guang scratched his head. This uncle also reminded him that the relationship between him and Chi Changai would be better if they were recognized by the elders. But who is Yin Hua? Guyao was distracted just as he was about to speak, and Guyao instantly left Chi Changai behind. Yin Hua pointed to his face and said, I haven't recovered my appearance yet, let my uncle see what Xiaoao looks like now. Guyao was stunned for a moment, only to realize that he had pushed Zhang Yirong's face, and hurriedly removed all the changes and returned to his original eyebrows. Yin Hua carefully described it with his eyes, and said with a smile, this is in line with my imagination, now the Yin family is left with only you and me, your mother did not take good care of you. Yin Hua used a positive tone. Guyao recalled that he didn't have a deep impression of his biological mother in Yuan Shi's memory. He went too early and left him alone in a cannibalistic environment like Gu's house. Mother, she died in the early years to save her father in the monster attack town. Soon after, my father remarried and gave birth to a pair of twins. Later, I exchanged the Changxianmen token left by my uncle to leave the ancient family. Freedom, and brother Ye, Chi Changai, left Yuanyang town and went out for a walk. Not to mention Guyao, even Yin Hua doesn't have a deep impression of this sister. Hearing his nephew's description, he knew that the life in the Gu family was not good. At the beginning, he said that the man was not a good match, and the temperament of the Gu family. Extremely selfish, what he wants to plot is not concealed in his eyes. He reminded him, but his sister believed in his own feelings more, and Yin Hua didn't persuade him too much. If it wasn't for her unborn nephew who made him sense blood fluctuations later, he would not leave behind the arrangement. Yin Hua sighed, your mother is my half-sister. Before the Yin family's disaster, I actually didn't have much contact with her. Maybe it's because your mother has never walked outside before, her temper is too simple, and she doesn't know the sinister nature of people. After seeing your father, you feel that he is someone you can trust. You can't go down the same path as your mother. Seeing that the wind suddenly changed, Guyao's face suddenly burned. Seeing his uncle's playful eyes, Guyao moved his body uncomfortably, not knowing how to explain to his uncle the various things between him and Chi Changai. Yin Hua sighed in his heart, what is the fate that is unclear, however, my uncle still believes that Xiaoao, your vision is different from your mother's, and your vision is much better than hers. Guyao scratched his face and blinked, but he still didn't know what to say. Seeing his nephew's embarrassed appearance, Yin Hua couldn't help laughing. His nephew was indeed much more cute and lovable than his original sister. Look away. Uncle, cough, how have you been all these years? Guyao couldn't help but say, who is the enemy of the Yin family. Yin Hua's smile is slightly restrained. In fact, you should have heard of this person. There are two sixth-grade alchemists in Changxianmen, and the surnamed Han is not so powerful. That's the alchemist surnamed Wu who has never shown up. Guyao thought of the rumors outside. Could it be that the toxin was really created by this alchemist? That's right, he's very talented in alchemy. Of course, in my opinion, it's far inferior to you, Xiaoao, and he prefers to refine poison. I'm afraid he's refining his body into a poison body now. If you encounter this person in the future, you must be careful. In fact, the Yin family has been living on the Qinhao continent for many years, but the direct line has always recorded the situation in Tianlin and the teleportation formation. Somehow the surnamed Wu knew about Yin, the existence of the clan and the speciality of Yin's bloodline, but Xiaoao, you must know that the more special the bloodline is, the rarer it is, and the harder it is to awaken. The Yin clan who were alive at that time was actually the only one who really awakened, and the others. The Yin clan is only slightly better in cultivation talent than other monks, so the Yin clan can become a hidden cultivation family on Qinhao continent. Qi Changjai stayed at the door for a day and a night, but time was nothing to practitioners, so he just opened and closed his eyes and meditated, but he put half of his mind in the room behind him, so he could clearly feel it. The passage of time, chatting for so long days. When the door was opened again, Qi Changjai quickly looked inside the door. He was standing there no different from when he just came out. The first thing he paid attention to was Guyao, but there was only a little more emotion in his eyes. And complicated, this heart also calmed down, and only then did he look at Yin Hua next to him. Yin Hua is still dressed in a very simple green robe, which is in line with the identity of the old cultivator, but now that he has recovered his appearance, he abruptly brings out the brilliance of this ordinary robe. This is a mature and firm-hearted man. A powerful man. Knowing that the Yin clan was destroyed, Qi Changjai couldn't imagine how Yin Huajijing grew to such a level. Yin Hua looked at Qi Changjai and raised his eyebrows, then patted his nephew's head and said, "Uncle is going to rest first. We will leave here tomorrow, so if you have anything to say, just say it clearly before you leave, and then just let it go." Carrying on his back, he left gracefully. "Are you okay?" Qi Changjai asked while looking at Guyao as he entered the door. Guyao rubbed his eyebrows, feeling that he had overturned all his past cognitions. The Heavenly Spirit clan made him feel like a huge bug in the world of self-cultivation. This kind of bloodline made him feel that it was better not to exist. Yin, the demise of the clan, is not a profound lesson. Qi Changjai poured a soothing spirit tea for Guyao. Guyao took a few sips and his face softened a little, looked up at Qi Changjai and hesitated, and finally sighed and said, "Uncle's affairs are very different from what I imagined. The Celestial clan and my previous cognition are also somewhat different." Qi Changjai saw what was bothering Guyao, patted him on the shoulder and said, "No matter what the difference, you are not you. I am still me. Now you have more relatives, which is a good thing." "Yeah," Guyao chuckled lightly, "it's just that some things are more bizarre. For example, my uncle once dreamed for 1,000 years. Qi Changjai felt as if he had lost his speech too. "Is this true? Did you dream about the future?" Guyao nodded. "Yes, but because it's a dream, there are clear and vague ones, and I can't remember clearly after waking up, but I still have some impressions of some important events, such as my nephew, and your sword repairer." My uncle was a little worried about Qi Changjai, a sword cultivator, which made Guyao laugh and cry. Therefore, my uncle knew that his biological mother died young, and that sooner or later he would leave the Gu family and go out for a walk, and one day he would come to Qinhao continent, and he would come at Yudang. When he was in front of him, he also worried about his uncle for a long time, especially worried about his identity, worried that his uncle would see that he was not the original, but all the problems were solved in this way. In the past, Guyao was him, and then Guyao in the interstellar world was also him. No, it should be said that he is the real him. It turns out that his character also has such a cowardly side, but in the final analysis, it is caused by the environment. Alone and helpless, no one told him what to do, and in the interstellar world, he was an orphan who wanted to survive but had to fight with others, and was luckily discovered by his teacher and brought back. Guyao smiled relieved. The arrival of his uncle relieved him the biggest confusion in his heart. In fact, he was very lucky. He met many people who were helpful to him, so that his disposition was not skewed and distorted. At this moment, his heart was relieved, and a breakthrough occurred in the mind block world. If it wasn't for the wrong place, at this time, if he took a good retreat, his cultivation base would definitely be able to make a breakthrough. Chi Changjai also noticed the loosening and rising of this realm. Needless to say, this should be the role played by Yinhua and Guyao's conversation, and it should also be helpful for Guyao's future practice. Chi Changjai's perception of Yinhua has risen. For this, I am very grateful to him. Since it's Xiao who said it, then I believe it, then we should always be together, right? Chi Changjai is very sure. Said in a tone of voice. Guyao looked at Chi Changjai and pursed his lips and smiled. There is no need for others to talk about emotional matters. Except for Chi Changjai, he never thought that there would be a second person. This is fate. Whoever opened his eyes and saw this person first, well, at that time, the one who stayed by his side to get through the most difficult stage was Chi Changjai. Whether it was a chick's mentality or a long stream of water later, it was this person anyway. Chi Changjai also smiled, grabbed Guyao's shoulder, and kissed him. No one needed to affirm their relationship. Even if Guyao disappeared one day, he would find him in person. Zi Bao is back in the space again. Staying outside is easy to leak his breath and attract people to look at. Su Chen looked at this little guy and was depressed because Guyao blocked him, so Guyao talked to his uncle a little bit about him. I don't know, this makes people who are extremely curious not dig their hearts. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 269. Yinhua has a great sense of time. He will leave the next day. Guyao and Chi Changjai, who are juniors, have no say in this matter. It also makes Guyao realize that his uncle's character is his wishful thinking. It's a little different from reality, or like Su Chen, his uncle's appearance is too deceptive. Guyao has seen the images of spiritual sense left by his uncle twice, and thought that his uncle is a gentleman like a gentleman. He was forced to travel far because he was injured by the Gu family, but in fact, there are some things in Yinhua's character. The elements of being domineering are unequivocal, and doing things is a bit reckless. He doesn't have much affection for Guyao's biological mother. If it wasn't for Guyao's special bloodline, Yinhua would not have left those arrangements to bring Guyao to Qinhao continent. I won't even find my uncle and nephew to recognize me. But even if he knew about these circumstances, Guyao still respected his uncle very much. He couldn't blame his uncle for what happened to his biological mother. He also enjoyed the benefits of the arrangement left by his uncle, and now his uncle came over for their safety. There is no longer any barrier in my heart to regard my uncle as the only relative. Yinhua pretended to be a 60-something-year-old man with a shirt again. Guyao and Chi Changjai could no longer use the identity of Lu Hua and Lu Feng. They didn't know if it was Yinhua's bad taste, and they were unwilling to use disguise for them. The magic talisman, but to see how they changed their appearance, because Yinhua had not been able to see through their disguise before, but recognized Guyao by the traction between the bloodlines. Guyao doesn't matter, he shows the elders a show of power and entertainment, even though this elder is a little disrespectful, and his face is too tender. Chi Changjai has a black line all over his forehead to change his appearance, and he was also called by Yinhua was picky, but under such picky, Qi Changjai, a stern sword cultivator, has now become a black-faced man with 5 big and 3 thick. Yinhua almost made him wrap his animal skin and show his arms. There is no need to dye his skin black, Qi Changjai's complexion is already dark enough at the moment, he secretly rejoices. Fortunately, Gu Yao did not grow up with this uncle, and his temperament is not affected by his uncle. Yinhua stood in front of the flying instrument with his hands behind his back. No wonder others couldn't tell the difference. Except for the face, his demeanor and actions were all in line with his age and appearance, but he also had a taste of Taoism and fairy style. Beckoned, Xiaoao, come here. Gu Yao immediately ran over. Yinhua was very satisfied, and his nephew was still very well behaved. Are those friends of yours coming over to gather with you? Originally said to be meeting, but now I don't know what arrangements Uncle Ji has. Gu Yao immediately asked, Uncle, where are we going now? Yinhua said, the most important thing you should do now is to go to retreat. Your uncle has lived here for many years, and there are still several places of practice. Now I will take you to one of them. You have to rest assured, uncle, I make arrangements for them. Gu Yao nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Don't worry, of course don't worry, I'll listen to uncle's arrangement. Yinhua shook Gu Yao's head with satisfaction. Good. With his current image, this action and tone are not inconsistent at all, but Qi Changjai couldn't help but think of his true appearance and twitched the corners of his mouth a few times. Uncle has to make ends meet all these years, so I set up a small business. It's not big enough. It's okay to raise a few people. Let your friends go there first. By the way, the ancestor Lu of Changxianmen is also you. Someone rescued him. His business firm is indeed small, but it also allowed him to infiltrate the business alliance. Although his status in the business alliance is not high, no one can think of his true identity, so that it is easy to cover up. Gu Yao nodded again, and truthfully explained what he had asked Zhang Qianfeng and the Silver Wolf clan to do, including negotiating with the Silver Wolf clan's patriarch and building a passage to Wanluo continent. There was no need to hide these things from uncle. Yinhua is not surprised at all about the construction of the channel. Is a dream for 1,000 years a joke? He knew that this matter should be buried outside. His nephew, Yinhua, was of course different. Gu Yao made another copy of the list that he had given to Patriarch Yin. The number of people is more powerful. The earlier the materials are collected, the earlier the passage can be constructed, and there are no reservations about the uncle, including the spatial coordinates and the specific construction method. Telling everything truthfully makes Yinhua even happier. Sure enough, he is still his nephew. He is so caring. Gu Yao once thought that his uncle was a cultivator of Jindan, but this time he saw that his uncle was already a monk in the Yuanying period. According to the truth told by Qi Changjai, his cultivation level was in the middle period of Yuanying. Gu Yao did not know how his uncle practiced these years. But I know that my uncle also needs this thing. After the nascent soul stage, the environment of Qinhao continent is not suitable for them to cultivate. On the other side, Tianfirong, Little Fatty, and Lu Huajingying Muking received a message from Gu Yao, asking them to go to a certain city to find a shop inside, and stated that the owner of the shop was his uncle, Lu Huajing, and Ying Muking. The two of them didn't know Gu Yao's life experience, and were very confused by the sudden appearance of their uncle, but since Gu Yao told them, they would not doubt it. Tianfirong and Little Fatty were very happy that Gu Yao could be reunited with his uncle. When they found the shop according to their words, their eyes narrowed. They didn't expect that uncle still had such a business in Qinhao continent. It is a small business, but its scale is similar to the Lingyuan pavilion they had cooperated with in Jianjiaun city. This business is called Fenjian Pavilion, and it is actually well known among the monks, because he is famous for making robes, especially the robes of female cultivators are very sought after by female monks, and the spiritual stones earned by Fenjian Pavilion are not necessarily much less than other firms. Yinhua sent Guyao and Qi Changjai to an inconspicuous residence, but when they entered through the illusion array, Guyao and Qi Changjai immediately judged that there was a hidden spiritual vein here, which was an excellent place to practice. Place. You should retreat here and try to condense infants as soon as possible. Otherwise, what's the use of mixing your 2 golden pills in those battles? Those outside don't have to worry about it beforehand. They were originally created by the monks of Qinhao continent themselves, of course. It's up to them to come forward and clean up. Let's listen to Uncle. Guyao didn't respond. With Uncle, he felt that the sky was falling and there was a tall man on his back. It's really good to have the feeling of having an elder you can rely on. Yinhua handed them the jade cards for entering and leaving this place, as well as how to control the formation, and taught them how to control the formation, so he was ready to leave and let Guyao retreat. Guyao stopped his uncle again, and took out a pile of medicinal pills. I don't know if these medicinal herbs can be used by my uncle. When my cultivation level rises, I may be able to refine the medicinal herbs that my uncle can use. By the way, there is a Ningyiang fruit tree in Brother Yes place, and my uncle needs Ningyiang fruit. Yinhua knew his nephew's talent in alchemy for a long time. After seeing the elixir in the jade bottle, he accepted all of them as soon as he was happy. No matter if he needed it or not, it was his nephew's filial piety, so he was happy to take it with him. On the body, everyone can show off. As for the Ningyiang fruit tree, Yinhua glanced at Qi Changjai. How could this thing be put on this guy? His nephew is like his mother, he will dig his heart out when he likes others, he will have to look at it later. Ningyiang, well, let's leave it for now. Although the single Ningyiang fruit is also effective, it is not as effective as the Ningyiang pill, and my uncle believes that Xiaoao will be able to refine the Ningyiang pill soon. Okay, uncle will tell me when you need it. Well, take a good retreat, and when I come back, I find that your cultivation has not risen. Yinhua gave Qi Changjai a menacing look, and then walked away. Finally left, Qi Changjai couldn't hold back, rubbed his face with his hands, and recovered his face as soon as possible. Although Guyao knew that Qi Changjai had endured hard all the way, he still couldn't bear to think of the scene at that time. Live laughing. Qi Changjai finally reckoned with his handsome face, and sighed, "Your uncle is really hard to serve." Guyao laughed twice again, and then quickly appeased Qi Changjai. "You see that uncle gave us such a good place, it means that uncle still takes good care of us, it's just a little bit of that bad taste." Qi Changjai squinted at Guyao, afraid that Guyao would also contract this problem. How could he be better in the future? Guyao quickly changed the subject. "The sandwich cake in the middle is not so easy to take care of, both ends have to be taken care of. Let's go, let's visit the residence here first." Qi Changjai shook his head helplessly and went to visit according to Guyao's meaning. Although it was only one of the residences, it could be seen that Yinhua was a very pleasant monk. The environment was very elegant and unique. The strange flowers and trees are all made of thought and spirit stones, which made Qi Changjai realize that the life he and Guyao have lived up to now is extremely simple. Yinhua settled down his nephew, and then rushed to arrange for his nephew's friend to follow Xiaoao. This cultivation base must not be weak, otherwise, wouldn't it be a hindrance for Xiaoao? The reason why he didn't arrange to go together, let's just think about him as an uncle. He puts Guyao's safety first. As for whether he will reveal his identity, if the Fenjian Pavilion can build the first one, it can build the second one. The 4 of Tianfurong met and waited in the Fenjian Pavilion in the city designated by Guyao. They were notified that someone wanted to see them. The old man in green shirt also claimed to himself, "I'm Xiaoao's uncle." Tianfurong and Little Fatty had seen the video, and showed suspicious eyes. Yinhua took off the charm again to reveal the true face. Now Tianfurong and Little Fatty were relieved, and quickly called their uncle, feeling that Uncle Guyao was more graceful than the one in the video. What's more, Lu Huajing and Ying Muking showed astonishing eyes. They didn't expect Guyao's uncle to be so outstanding, but they had never heard of this cultivator before, and they also didn't know who was the boss behind Fenjian Pavilion. Knowing that Fenjian Pavilion is also very popular among female disciples of Changxianmen. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 270. Yin Hua's help to Tian Firong's 4 people not only provided a place to stay, but also arranged a training schedule for them, and provided several dangerous places suitable for them to practice. Although entering them involves taking certain risks, the journey of cultivation has never been smooth sailing. Yes, so Tian Firong and the others started their repairs after thanking Yin Hua. After arranging these juniors, Yin Hua met someone who was Lu Patriarch, Lu Huijing's elder. Ancestor Lu looked at the old man in the green shirt in front of him, with a hint of warning in his eyes. Who is your excellency? Where is Huijing? Where did you send Huijing? Yin Hua smiled. Don't panic, fellow Daoist Lu, Yin will not do anything to Huijing. On the contrary, I think Huijing can be made, but it was almost ruined in the hands of the Huo family of Changxianmen. Do you regret it? Oh, as for my identity, can Lu Dai really not recognize me? I think you and your comrades also chased after me. How much effort did I spend to get rid of you? Ancestor Lu's pupils shrank suddenly. You are fellow Daoist Yin Huayan? If you have anything to do with Lu, these things have nothing to do with Huijing. Yeah, it has nothing to do with Lu Huijing, but what's wrong with my nephew, who is on the wanted list of your Changxianmen again? I forgot to introduce, the alchemist Guyao you want is the nephew of someone Yin. We the uncle and nephew should feel extremely honored to let the dignified Xianmen care so much. Speaking of which, Lu Huijing's life was saved by my nephew, otherwise, Otherwise, what will happen to Lu Huijing? How could Lu ancestor not know? Guyao also gave him an address and a list of the monks who came out of the Scarlet Forest with them. Yin Hua also found someone to arrange them properly and ensure their safety. Xiaoao is willing to worry about them. Of course his uncle wouldn't hold back. Lu Lazu couldn't help but wiped his face after figuring out the joints, and took off the defenses of his whole body. He didn't expect that the person in front of him would be the blood of the Yin family, and he never thought that Guyao and Yin Hua would be uncle and nephew. So the brothers and sisters of the Yin family who escaped at the beginning escaped to the Tianlin continent. That's right, Yin Hua has the way to get there must have left this method to his nephew, so it will be many years before Guyao and another Thunder Sword cultivator come to Qinhao continent. How the Yin family perished, others can say but do not know, but Lu Lazu is clear, so the grievance between Yin Hua and Changxianmen cannot be resolved one day, and he will stand on Yin Hua's side. It is also impossible to spare the genocide enemies. You have a good nephew. Guyao alchemist is not only good at alchemy, but also kind-hearted. The antidote on Guanxin's side was researched by Guyao alchemist. This ability is enough to convince the geniuses on Qinhao continent. The alchemist has gone down. Some people say that he has a very bright inheritance, but according to Lu, inheritance is important, and his own ability is even more important. In Lu ancestors' view, inheritance is dead, and alchemists who have the same inheritance may not all stand at the same height, so it has to be seen in whose hands it falls. After thinking about it, he couldn't help but remind, now many monks, including some people in Changxianmen, should also be eyeing Guyao alchemist. I hope Gu alchemist is more careful. It is not advisable to walk outside recently, some human means are endless. Yin Hua naturally knew that. He looked at Lazulu playfully and said, is Daoist Lu ready to betray Changxianmen completely? Although Daoist Lu did not participate in the shameful things that Changxianmen has done over the years, can he be able to shirk it? Urging. Sometimes maintaining neutrality and independence, can you really have a clear conscience? Ancestor Lu looked ashamed and sighed, Yin Daiyu is right. Looking at the current situation of Chang Xianmen, I really can't have a clear conscience. My inaction and not preventing it actually breed the evil side. Maybe I'm selfish. There is also hope in my heart. I hope they can really find a way, but when Chang Xian sect becomes the target of public criticism, those innocent disciples who do not know about it will also be involved in the chaos. Innocent, Yin Hua snorted coldly. Since they have used the cultivation resources of Chang Xianmen, they can't be said to be truly innocent. Unless they spit out all their food, Chang Xianmen can accumulate a huge heritage. Do I still need to talk about various ways? Saying that they are innocent, aren't those loose cultivators who become experimental materials for some people and end up in the dark? Ancestor Lu was stunned for a moment, and then smiled bitterly. In this way, no one is innocent. What plan does Daiyu Yin have? Lu wants to do my best, hoping to make up for some past mistakes. A look of ridicule flashed in Yin Hua's eyes. He didn't tell Xiaoyao the truth completely. The reality was more cruel than the child thought. No relationship. Even if some people didn't participate, they still held a neutral or acquiescent attitude like old ancestor Lu, and even pushed the hand from behind to watch the progress of the whole situation. Maybe these people did not expect the whole thing to happen to the point of losing control, but in their opinion, even losing control is better than waiting for life to run out. Did the Yin family die miserably? Sadly, the family was wiped out, and only he and his half-sister escaped. But the Yin clan is not completely innocent, because the Yin clan was also involved, and that's why they accidentally leaked the hidden secrets of the Yin clan, because Yin Hua awakened the blood of the Tianling clan. That clan elder even thought about it. Lock him up as a test subject. Therefore, the Yin clan was destroyed. He was not as full of hatred as Gu Yao thought. He wanted to get rid of his enemies quickly. Sometimes he even maliciously wanted to see how far these monks were going to die. Maybe he would to wipe out the entire Qinhao continent from the world of self-cultivation, and let these evils completely disappear from the world. He felt that this might not be the best result. The appearance of Gu Yao was an accident for him. He actually wanted to see what path his nephew would choose. The Yin family was actually very selfish, including Gu Yao's mother and his good sister, but this, although the blood of the Gu family and the Yin family was shed on the child, he was completely different from the people with these two surnames, so he couldn't be ruthless to destroy it. Sometimes he really wants to say that this kid Gu Yao is really stupid and would sacrifice his own life for the benefit of unrelated people. He asks himself that he can't do it to such an extent, otherwise he would definitely choose a path that is more in line with his own interests, but it doesn't mean he won't admire making such a choice. Chosen person. What's more, Yimen has already told him how it will end in 1,000 years, so he will no longer be an outsider, but will be behind the scenes to help Gu Yao. Plan. Yin Hua looked at Lu ancestor and said, I have a plan, or my nephew has a plan, otherwise why do you think he can persuade the patriarch of the Silver Wolf clan to send someone to save you in person? This is not the things that a top-quality suspension pill can solve, including the follow-up cooperation. What do you think, fellow Daoist Lu? Ancestor Lu's breath stagnated. Could it be what he thought? Yin Hua said with a smile, but not a smile. Besides that incident, what else could make the Silver Wolf clan chief escape from the clan? When his clan went to rescue you, he himself ran to see my nephew. Guess what? That's good. Now Patriarch Yin should be collecting materials everywhere, and he wants to open the sky that covers our continent, so what needs to be done? It's not hard for fellow Lu to guess. Lu Lazu was very shocked. He didn't understand what Yin Hua said. Even if Yin Hua didn't let him do it, he would do it with all his strength, not for himself, but for the younger generation of Lu's family, for Lu Huijing's bright future. The younger generation, their future should not be shackled on this 1,000-strong continent, and in the end they will become people like him who help and abuse, or the Huo family's father and son. If you suppress it for a long time, your mind will be distorted and perverted. I know what to do, so don't worry, Dai Yin. Yin Hua smiled, left a piece of jade slip, and walked away. Ancestor Lu hurriedly checked the records in the jade slip, which recorded the required materials and the construction of the passage, but the key things were still in his own hands. Even if they gathered these materials, there was no way to build the passage. Want to leave? Then protect the safety of his nephew, but don't let those completely degenerate guys threaten the safety of his nephew. Coveted the inheritance in the hands of his nephew? Then it is necessary to describe which one is more important to set inheritance and build a channel. Although old ancestor Lu was chased and killed by the same sect, it did not mean that he did not have like-minded people, and he did not have a group of his own strength in his hands. Otherwise, how could people easily destroy his soul card, and Changxian sect still mistook him for him? The body is dead, and as for the monks who also failed to return, after all, the Yuanying monks are not so easy to solve, maybe Lu Lazu finally pulled them to death. The only thing Lu ancestor didn't expect at the time was that the head of Huo and the people behind him had murderous intentions against him. This matter fermented very quickly. Ancestor Lu has practiced for many years and has contacts with other sections. The people who hold the same position as him are basically the people he needs to win over. He copied many copies of the jade slips and tried every means to send them to these monks. In their hands, none of these monks were Yuanying. After reading the jade slip, these Yuanying monks were all shocked. Tailuiman, Elder Zhang stopped the disciple who sent the jade slip. Who brought the jade slip? Where is the person who sent the letter? Master, this disciple doesn't know. Forget it, you can go down. Elder Zhang understood that if the other party wanted to hide his identity deliberately, it was not something that a little disciple could see through, but what was said in the jade slip was too important, and its credibility reached 8 or 9. Become. The Yuanying cultivator who received the letter also had friends of the same age, so they passed it on one by one. Soon, the Yuanying cultivators met each other, and the first sentence of their mouths was not to greet each other, but to ask, "Do you know about that?" Then again, "Can you really build a channel?" Only then can we sit down and talk. The topic is still inseparable from this matter, and we want to know who the initiator behind it is, so as to further confirm the matter of the channel, and the situation of Wanluo continent described in the jade slip also makes them yearn for it. There are a lot of God-transforming powers above nascent soul, and the lifespan of God-transforming cultivators has reached 10,000 years. This alone makes nascent soul monks want to go to Wanluo continent despite everything. Who is the monk who provides the method of building the channel? Among the clues deliberately left by people with a heart, under the current situation in the mainland, many arrows point to one person, that is the alchemist Gu Yao, who is still being searched in private by Changxianmen. He was the alchemist Yao in Jianzhai Unchinj before, and he has treated many people. The monk who was bitten by the monster and the alchemist who developed the antidote is probably also him. There are also some alchemists who privately put out bounties. He could not be found, including the Thunder Swordsman who was with him. So, where is this man hiding now? Now it seems that there is no one behind him. It now seems that if you want this ancient alchemist to stand up and explain the passage, I'm afraid it's unlikely. Once he shows up, I'm afraid that he will be surrounded by all sides first. I'm afraid you don't know, you most want this ancient who is alchemist Yao's cultivator, a late Yuanying cultivator surnamed Tang said while tapping on the table. Who is it? Someone had already made a bad guess in their hearts. It is the alchemist of Changxianmen. The alchemist Wu is now a 6th grade senior alchemist, so when he said something, many people secretly found someone for him. The monk surnamed Tang dared to say this because he also received a summons from alchemist Wu. It was claimed in the subpoena that as long as this person was found, alchemist Wu would accept his favor. Many monks wanted to get the favor of a senior 6th-rank alchemist. He was originally very tempted, but after seeing the record in the jade slip, he pressed this matter down, neither said help nor said no, and hung alchemist Wu there. He is already in the late nascent soul, and if he goes a step further, he can hardly see hope in today's Qinhao continent. If it wasn't for the jade slip, maybe he wouldn't shirk the alchemist's business, but if he did it casually, he could get a chance. He thought it was a favor, because everyone knew that the surnamed Wu was very withdrawn, and it was extremely difficult to ask him to take action. But this kind of favor is so insignificant compared to going to Wanluo continent to climb into the gods in the future. Which side does it need to be asked? It seems that alchemist Gu Yao does have a very bright inheritance of alchemy techniques, which makes alchemists Wu all fancy. It can be seen that the rumors outside are not false, but more important, how do we determine that alchemist Gu Yao has what do we want? Tang Xiu smiled and said, actually, there are two deists who can prove that. One is the current patriarch of the Silver Wolf clan, who has personally interviewed with alchemist Gu Yao, and the other is, it is said that he was unfortunate in the eradication of monsters. Fellow deist Lu from Changxianmen who died in battle, fellow deist Lu, you might as well come out and speak. After careful consideration, Lu ancestor chose this cultivator Tang, because others could wait, but cultivator Tang did not have to wait too long, and cultivator Tang was strong enough to keep him safe. Ancestor Lu came out from behind, clasped his fists to the nascent soul cultivator present, and said, deist friends, how have you been lately?